correlation does not imply causation.
Adam Curry, John C. Dvorak.
It's Sunday, April 2nd, 2023. This is your award-winning Give on Nation Media Assassination episode 1543.
This is No Agenda.
Second-guessing sealed indictments and broadcasting live from the heart of the Texas Hill Country here in FEMA Region number 6 in the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where I'm trying to find that food I can eat before I go to bed to get rid of that belly's fat while I sleep, I'm John C. Dvorak.
It's Crackpot and Buzzkill in the morning.
No, man, you need Ozempic. Ozempic will do it for you.
Did he give you Ozempic face?
I know people who are on the Ozempic right now, and they love it.
Yeah, until their face collapses.
The thing is, I don't think you can stop with the Ozempic, and that's when it all goes wrong. That's when it all goes wrong.
Oh, that could be.
Yeah, you can't stop. And while you're taking it, side effects are nausea, diarrhea, Tourette's. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I made that up.
Ozempic face.
Ozempic face, yes. So you are typically you used to be. We've talked about this from time to time. The April Fool's Day master, and
yes, I'm in the it's some Hall of Fame for doing a couple of these.
Yes, you are, and of course, ever since the internet, you really can't do April Fool's jokes. They just don't work. The internet broke the April Fool's joke.
I believe so.
Yeah, and so
why is that? Well,
yes, why is that, John?
Because there's no real time constraints with the joke. The joke goes onto the internet where it stays forever and is often read sometime in the middle of November.
Yeah, right. If it's a good one.
And then it gets read as something serious in the middle of November. There's no association with April 1st, and it becomes a nightmare.
Exactly. And so people still try them. You know, they still, there's a lot of Bitcoin people saying, "Oh, I bought Ethereum." Yeah, okay. Very funny.
How's that a joke? You could buy Ethereum.
Exactly. And so Aaroner, who runs No Agenda Social, he did something very interesting yesterday, which he considered to be an April Fool's joke, but it actually did more. I'm sure you saw that he posted, I can't handle the KKK Nazi quadroons anymore. I'm transitioning. I'm becoming crystal. I'm moving to California. And tonight I will be shutting off No Agenda Social. And he did. Yeah. He shut it off. And so first of all, that's not really an April Fool's joke. I mean, it doesn't have the right elements, correct?
Well, I didn't analyze his gag. It had a lot of elements. One of the elements it has to have April Fool's, a giveaway in there somewhere. It's usually coded.
Well, that was the problem. Like the whole thing was a giveaway. I mean, it was obvious that was not true. So he posted that a couple hours before, and then he actually did shut it down. Which I
think that made it work.
You thought, interesting. Here's what it did for me. It made me realize how addicted people are to this thing. Because they were DMing Tina any way they could get a hold of her. What's going on? Is this a April Fool's joke? Like, really? You can't see that that's an April Fool's joke? But also, it made me realize that even myself with godlike powers, admin powers, I was powerless. And I thought, isn't that interesting?
By the way, I should mention to people out there, if you say, "Is this an April Fool's joke?" and you check the calendar, and it's actually April 1st, 99.9% of the time it's an April Fool's joke.
Right. So
you shouldn't have to ask.
Exactly. But it was also kind of like, social media is basically broken. Even I could get deplatformed. What if he woke up and was really mad and went, "Screw this, I'm shutting it down"? He could do it.
Well, he should do it on the 3rd.
Yeah, please do it. Okay, you made my point, I guess. And people are posting on Twitter, "What's going on, man? What's going on?" I hope it made people realize how valuable that resource is and how they treat it sometimes like a trash heap. Yeah. And it also made me go, "Oh, cool, I'm going to go to Nostr. I'm going to start posting stuff over there. It was just interesting. I thought it had an extra effect from a typical April Fool's joke. That's the same with, I don't know if you saw that email from the producer that apparently Devin Mulvaney, that's
Dylan.
Dylan, yes, Dylan, who somehow got plucked out of the world of trans and wound up asking the president questions in a Q&A session. Was now a spokesperson for Bud Light, and this person is really convinced that it's true. I'm like, I
saw that thread. It was one of those things because I just commented early on in the thread, and then I I was stuck on this. This is an example of one of those threads. I had no interest in any of this to Dylan Mulvaney anything.
No.
And it takes me a while to even remember who this person is. It's just an annoying person. It just, I'm just not, I wish I wasn't on the CC there.
To me, it's a, I hear you, but it's a typical example of an April Fool's joke that has gone too far because people, no, that's true. I can't, Anheuser-Busch was my client for many years. I built Bud.com, BudLight.com. I have a hard time believing that they would go this woke and decide that, yeah, this is a good idea.
You have to know. Well, I agree with you, but the Budweiser you worked for was Anheuser-Busch.
I know they were purchased, but it's still the Anheuser-Busch people who are still in charge of the marketing, just because the company was bought by the Belgian company,
InBev.
Yeah. Well, anyway. But this kind of folds into just one thing that I was astounded by a statement from the president on, was this Friday or Saturday? I think it was Friday, March 31st. Yeah, so it was Friday. Statement, this is on whitehouse.gov. Statement from President Joe Biden on Transgender Day of Visibility. Now, we didn't know this was going on.
Yeah, we did. I posted it in the newsletter.
Yeah, that was on Saturday, but the Transgender Day of Visibility was Friday.
I thought it was Saturday.
The 31st is Friday.
I know that, but I thought that the signage that I posted in the newsletter showed that they changed the name to the Day of Visibility, became the Day of Vengeance, and it was marked April 1st.
The Day of Vengeance is something different.
Well, the Day of Vengeance
was supposed to be Saturday.
That was Saturday, but it was supposed to be the Day of Visibility that they changed to the Day of Vengeance.
Oh, okay. Well, did you read?
And then they were going to change it back after the shooting, and then they said, no, we'd be weenies if we did that. And so they took their I could make gags here. I won't do it.
Did you read the statement from the president?
I did not. I wish you'd read it now.
I'm just going to read the top and the bottom. Hey, made a joke. On Transgender Day of... I thought you'd like... Hey,
that's an example of a joke.
Off the cuff.
That you had to actually, just like an April Fool's, you have to you have to say it was a joke. And that makes it funny.
I just came up with it, too. On Transgender Day of Visibility, we celebrate the strength, joy, and absolute courage of some of the bravest people I know. Transgender Americans deserve to be safe and supported in every community. But today, across our country, MAGA extremists are advancing hundreds of hateful and extreme state laws that target transgender kids and their families. No one should have to be brave just to be themselves. I mean, this is really...
Are we sure this is legit?
I'm reading it off whitehouse.gov. So, yeah, I would say that's legit. And then he goes through this whole thing. So... Seriously, I mean, to bring in MAGA extremists and to say, okay, here's this, and what is MAGA extremist really? What does that mean?
Wear a red hat.
Yeah, exactly.
And it clashes with an orange shirt.
And at the bottom, this was the most interesting thing to me personally. I want every member of the trans community to know that we see you. You're each made in the image of God. and deserve love, dignity, and respect. You make America stronger, and we're with you. So you could not have a more divisive, inflammatory statement by putting these two concepts into your statement. That's really bad. That's not the Joe Biden who said he was going to bring people together. I don't think.
So you're actually going on the assumption that Biden wrote this or even knew it was released?
Well, okay. Obviously, that's an obvious point. Obvious point. Now, at the same time, on April Fool's Day,
I smell Valerie Jarrett, by the way.
Yeah, you're right. A fantastic website came out, southwoke.com. And this came out on, now this is a whole new twist. It came out on April Fool's Day, but it's very serious and it has money behind it. You've got to go to southwoke.com. This is This is a takeoff of the Southwest Airlines website. And I mean, it is deep, professionally done. It has videos. It has very funny things like news stories, full-on news stories. South Woke hires fabulous Sam Brinton as our new baggage czar. I mean, really, really hilarious stuff. South Woke goes drag for the children. I mean, and then these guys, and I think the pilots union or pilots organization is behind it. They had money. They were putting up billboards with South Woke, promoting southwoke.com. It is well done.
It's very funny.
And from what I understand from some of our airmen,
South Woke, an airline that's inclusive of everyone except you.
Yes, exactly. Message.
And I think, by the way, if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong, but in one of the images that they flash across the screen, they have all these weird looking stewardesses and stewards, and I think the bald non-binary in the middle, I think the head is the head of the CEO.
Yes,
I think that's
correct.
his head.
It is correct.
Yeah, it's very funny.
Apparently, Southwest is losing an average of 1.5 pilots per day. They're just leaving. There's plenty of other places to go. Plenty of other airlines need pilots. As is witnessed by what happened in Minnesota Nuts. I don't know if you might not have heard about it. The 31-day pilot month hit again. This time was Delta. Their turn to melt down with 12% of all flights nationwide canceled. Of course, as we know, March is a peak month, 31 days, and that means that pilots run out of hours. They don't have enough pilots. Of course, the storm in Minneapolis was the impetus, but the end-of-month pilot shortage, they don't have the slack to recover. I mean, even Sun Country Airlines, which is much smaller, it's a low-cost airline, they only canceled, I think, 4%. And that was mainly due to weather. And Delta is the airline that prides themselves on being the gold standard for operations integrity. So the breakdown of our aviation system continues. But
this is not good.
No, it's not good at all. But I thought it was really, I really love that southwoke.com. And
it's very good. It's very professional. You're right.
Yeah, a lot of producers work at Southwest or no South, and they're all so disappointed with the new management. There's even an email floating around that of really pissed off pilots who are saying we're leaving. We're just out, and they're leaving. They're saying screw you. We're not going to participate in this bull crap anymore. And then anyway. Did you get that email about the post office? I got several emails from our mail carrying professionals, which is a constitutional gig. I mean, the post office it's in the Constitution. Didn't they have like some enormous amount of funding that went into the post office, the Postal Service?
Yeah, they do that every so often. They get a bunch of money.
This is from one of our producers. The post office today told the majority, and this is one producer in just one particular area, that the rural carriers updating their salary, basing their pay off of certain criteria in their scanners. When they deliver something, they scan it. And apparently these things don't work half of the time. I think I can probably agree with that. I've seen it fail many times when something's been delivered. And so this one producer says he is losing $20,000 from the $70,000 he was on track to make this year. Now, remember, these were the heroes who were supposed to be royally rewarded for continuing to work during COVID. That's 20,000 out of 70. And of course, this was sprung on, and this takes effect almost immediately. And they'll have to work 6 days a week now without overtime.
Now, this seems to be part of the overall scam that's been going on.
Well, what's the scam? Who's running the scam? What's going on with this?
Well, this started, of course, when they had to pre-fund something like 30 years of retirement in advance, which is what put them in arrears, even though it's a phony baloney deal. But it put the post office in the red, and it kept them that way because it's impossible to do that. Nobody does that, and it's all been a scheme, supposedly, that was begun by FedEx and United Parcel to take over that business.
Oh,
and it began years ago.
Of course. Oh, they're just trying to sell it out. That's your great reset right there.
Well, this has been was gone on before we began this show over 15 years ago when it began.
I know. Klaus Schwab has been planning this for 15 years.
It's a long game, but because of the nature of the being in the Constitution, they can't do anything about it.
So they're just going to make everyone quit because they can't live off of it.
They haven't been able to get it shuttered yet.
Well, this is a good start. It's a good start. And then one more just on this, since we're on kind of that topic.
That sounds like a lawsuit waiting to happen. I sure
hope so. That's nuts. I got to talk to Diana. She's our mail carrier. Find out from her how she got affected. When you have a mail carrier like who you know and who you give a Christmas gift to, it doesn't have to be money. We give her money, but also a Christmas card. When there's some piece of mail that needs to be signed for. Yesterday, because we don't go to our mailbox is down the road. It's not at the road itself. And I opened up and there's a piece of registered mail, and in it a little card. Of course, you have the green card that you have to sign, a little card from Diana saying, hey, would you mind just signing this and just putting it back in the box? And she even clipped her pen to it. That's the kind of service you get.
Cute. She was a waiter in a previous life.
No, she's been a mail carrier for 23 years or something.
It's a joke.
No, anyway. Yes, a joke. I'm glad you explained it.
Make sure you flip up the little red flag.
Yes. So we know that NPR, due to the soft advertising market and the fact that they only get 2% of their money from government, the rest is just ads. Call it whatever you want. They had to let go of about 100 employees, of which many were in the overstaffed podcasting department, because they all bought into the podcast industrial complex hype of, you're like Spotify, Bonanza's going to be great. Wow, let's unionize. And so they had a Zoom town hall because people were mad. Now, a big group of this 100 cannot be fired because they actually organized into a union, and though it's in a different union outside of the AFTRA union, and the management of NPR recognized it before this all came down. So now they actually can't let go of those people. But they had all kinds, and so the staff, they're all pissed off. They can't believe the nerve of letting all these people go. We work so hard. And see if this sounds familiar to you. Among the I'm reading from Bloomberg. Among the requests, employees wanted to see more specific breakdowns around the number or percentage of employees of different races and identities who were laid off, rather than those of the remaining employees. They also wanted to know more information about their audiences and what the plans would be for hiring a chief content officer, and more clarity about how the layoffs were carried out. So they're now weaponizing DEI. So, are you firing black people? And then my favorite, you'll recognize this. The already tense environment boiled over during an exchange between CEO Lansing and a laid-off black employee. That employee voiced concern that some podcasts hadn't received marketing support and wondered how a show could gain audience without it. Does this sound like what I've always said, that you can't monetize the network? And you can't have a network of shows because people are always complaining about, I didn't get any promotion. We didn't get we didn't get enough advertising buys. Sound familiar?
Well, this is and it's exactly what you hear in publishing, especially in book publishing. And I'm always reminded of a good friend of mine. I haven't seen him for a long time, but he did this. Neil Rubenking. He did. He did a book called, I think it was called Guide to DOS in a Can.
DOS in a can, I like it.
And it was in a can.
You could have come up with this idea.
And so you had to get a can opener to open the can to get the book out.
This is some Silicon Valley lore you'll hear nowhere else. I'm telling you that. Okay.
And so it didn't sell well for a lot of logistics reasons. You had to ship these cans all over the place, and the bookstores didn't know where to put the cans.
It's a great idea, though.
It's a funny idea. And I remember one time I was in, Germany sometime. I was at a grocery store, and which I always go to at these grocery stores, and they had pickle in a can. And I always thought it was cute. It was like a different kinds of dill pickles. One pickle in a can, a small, very small can. And it was a cute gimmick. And I've never seen it before or since, but the book in the can. So the book didn't do well at all. I mean, nobody wanted these books in a can. And so all he did was grouse.
So
I didn't get any marketing support.
Oh, exactly. Well, here's the kicker. So one of the podcasts that was very successful, that rocketed to the top of the charts, everybody, was Invisibilia. Invisibilia was, they were on the level of, what was that comeback show? The true crime drama that brought podcasting back. How come I'm spacing on that?
Yeah, the Simplify was the name of it. No, it was Shortfall. Shortfall.
No, that's not it. It was
SpongeBob.
Yeah, close, but that's not it. Serial.
That's the one. Yeah.
So it actually outdid Serial a little bit. How much do you think it cost on an annual basis? Invisibilia was canceled. How much do you think it costs on an annual basis to produce Invisibilia?
More than we take in.
Correct. $1 million to produce the show. I don't care what you're doing. That's not the model of podcasting.
No.
The model
podcasting's
of podcasting
got to be.
Yeah.
It's cheap.
Yes, it's cheap. And we, of course, have perfected the model by accepting value for value, which is time, talent, and treasure. So if you build a website or if you turn it off,
But if we had 10 employees, this model would fail.
Of course.
And all those podcasts have like
John,
two or three producers.
If we had one extra employee, this model would fail.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
Yeah, it would.
It would, yes.
But 10. We're talking. Those guys are loaded to the gills. They got 2 or 3 people that are doing the show. They got engineers, 1 or 2 engineers. They've got 5 producers.
Yeah,
they got a writer,
line producer. They got
line
an editor, writers.
They get a couple writers.
I'm going to say they were probably more like 25 people, not even 10.
It wouldn't surprise me if it was 25 people.
Yeah. And
they got a studio, overhead studio.
Neumann mics. soundproof. Unlike, here, it's like you hear the echo of my room. I can't afford a soundproof room.
You really don't have much echo in your room.
No, but still. I use noise gates for that very reason. I can hear the traffic on the bridge if I don't use a noise gate on your mic.
I mean, I don't sound like this. Hey, Adam, and so what else about the? I got no echo.
Yeah, we're coming in from Gibber.
Yeah, exactly. So, thank you all very much for contributing to the show. It's the only way we can make it work. A tweet from Nancy Pelosi. Which was just too delicious to be true. Trump, the grand jury has acted upon the facts and the law, she writes. No one is above the law, and everyone has the right to a trial to prove innocence. What?
People are innocent until alleged to be involved in some type of criminal activity.
Can you believe what she wrote?
Wow.
Wow. And then she says...
she doesn't know you're innocent until proven guilty.
Twitter even put a disclaimer on her tweet, which I thought was pretty funny. I haven't seen that in a while. And the disclaimer says, Ms. Pelosi mistakenly says that Trump can prove his innocence at trial. Law in the U.S. assumes the innocence of a defendant, and the prosecution must prove guilt for a conviction. With a link to Cornell Law School.
This is, I think, play one more time, play the Brennan
This
clip
is former director of CIA, John Brennan.
People are innocent until alleged to be involved in some type of criminal activity.
This is our government.
Yeah. And that's how distorted they are. It's crazy. And this, of course, happened on a show day right after we had said, which we believe to be true, of course, that the grand jury was going on vacation for a month.
That's what they said.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess they got some blowback from somebody, and they said, you better come up with something now, and then you can go on vacation.
Yes.
So somebody told them to do this.
So here's what's happening everywhere, and I'm going to play. I know you have clips. And some of them are hilarious. The hilarity of this. If I were in charge of this political indictment, I'd keep it going as long as I could. This is humorous. This is great. Everyone's got something to say. People's heads are exploding, and I loved. There's one particular lie, blatant lie that keeps getting repeated. I saw. Bill Maher do it on Friday night. And this is France 24 with their correspondent, Doug, douchebag Doug. Listen to the lie that he repeats that everyone is talking about.
For more analysis, I'm joined on set by our international affairs commentator, Douglas Herbert. Doug, hello again. Donald Trump, his reaction basically has been not to hide from this. He's essentially challenging prosecutors to bring it on.
Yeah, look, we just heard that last woman there among those reactions from voters saying basically, she doesn't believe much is going to come of this. Donald Trump, time and again, throughout his political and even pre-political career as a real estate mogul, has defied legal norms and precedents. He has evaded justice and any sort of accountability or reckoning. Factually, he has not been before any sort of court on any sort of charges like this. And he has generally behaved in a way that suggests that the regular rules that would apply to other people don't apply to him. And there's nothing to suggest that in this case that's going to change. He's weaponized this indictment, but you are right. There are multiple investigations outstanding against him. This is the first in what some believe, including his former lawyer, Michael Cohen, who spent time in prison for helping Donald Trump, allegedly. He has said he believes this is just the beginning.
This is what everyone keeps saying. His lawyer went to jail for it. No. Michael Cohen, as far as I can remember, went to jail because he had some scam going with taxi medallions. And somehow, Michael Cohen even believes this himself. Or he's squirrely with it at minimum. And he's everywhere. Here he is, CNN this morning, trying to help Don Lemon with his ratings.
They can coordinate court dates, but they don't coordinate indictments. Right. And they have to go when they have to go, where the evidence leads. And there are things like the statute of limitations or what have you. But technically, Fani Willis in Georgia, if she does indict, could go first. They could coordinate and allow her to go to trial first, and this could go second.
This notion of, this is a weaker case than the January 6th. I acknowledge that. January 6th was an insurrection like we haven't seen in, 150 years in this country, but doesn't make this any less of a crime. I always call this the Capone theory, the Al Capone theory. They couldn't get him on murder, extortion, racketeering, bootlegging, etc. They got him on tax.
I just love when someone says etc.
They couldn't get him on murder, extortion, racketeering, bootlegging, etc. They got him on tax evasion. If that crime, Don, was enough for me to be charged, fined, convicted, and sent to prison, why am I any different than Donald Trump?
Am I mistaken? Did he get charged for that crime? Did I misunderstand?
I have to go back and look. I mean, this guy's a douchebag from the get-go. He's worse than Avenatti, who's also in jail.
Who's in jail? Here's a mini cut of Trump.
I am a victim of one of the great political smear campaigns in the history of our country.
The entire thing has been a witch hunt, and there is no collusion.
If they were lawyers, they'd be disbarred for what they're doing. It's a one-sided witch hunt.
And I'm a victim, I will tell you. I'm a victim.
Oh, they're after me for so many things. Oh, those prosecutors.
I got to tell you, one of our trolls just said, Cohen's still working for Trump. You got it all wrong. That's an interesting theory. I like that. It's a very interesting theory. It's very, 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 very good. I like that.
So I found this whole thing distasteful.
Well, of course.
And what really got on my nerves, and I had 3 clips here, was especially the New York late night audiences cheering this as though this is some positive step in the direction of the American enterprise that should be cheered.
Oh man, did you see? I don't know if you still have an account on our little secret Mastodon. Have you been there recently?
I haven't been there recently. I have a lot of those. I'm following a lot of those same people on No Agenda Social. I just tagged them to follow.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a good way to get our server on more ban lists.
How's that going to work?
Because then No Agenda Social stuff flows through to through the Federation.
Not the way I see it.
Yeah, okay. Doesn't matter.
If I go to that little box and put somebody in I want to follow, Craig Newmark, for example, they show up in my timeline.
Yes.
But I don't show up in theirs.
People that you follow show up in their federated timeline. It's okay. It doesn't matter. But that was the whole point of giving you the secret instance.
No, that's not. I don't believe this is to be true.
Okay.
So, in other words, why would people I follow show up in their timeline?
That's how not in their timeline, in their federated timeline. That's how Mastodon works.
Well, I don't see anybody that they're following their timeline unless they like their posts. I'm not seeing this.
You don't look at the federated timeline. It doesn't matter. I'm just saying, it doesn't matter. It's okay.
So let's go to this is the 3 clips called Late Night Hate.
This is the late night talk shows all emanating from New York. I see what you're saying now.
No, one's from L.A., and that's the one that had the mildest applause.
Who's in
Kimmel?
Kimmel's in L.A. Okay, let's listen to him first.
Thought would never come. We were skeptical, but let me give you some insight on how our jobs work here at this show. Less than 2 hours ago, I'm up in my office working on a monologue. I'm typing about opening day for baseball. I had a joke about how the people at Cracker Jack spent the whole winter in the dark sharing a can of Bumblebee tuna. We had a thing about a new nasal spray that'll give you an erection in 5 minutes, or your next one is free. And guess what? We had to throw it all in the garbage. It's all moot, because the J in Donald J. Trump now stands for jail. That's Manhattan Grand Jury.
That was the short one.
Yeah, okay.
So let's go to Fallon, who really is pretty soft pedaling. Fallon is not like a massive Trump hater. He kind of balances and does a lot of Biden jokes. And you could tell that he was actually kind of surprised by his New York audience reaction to his little mention of this little factoid. This part, clip 2.
Thank you very much, everybody. Welcome to The Tonight Show. Thank you very much.
Well, guys, it finally happened. A New York grand jury has voted to indict former President Trump for his role in a hush money payment made to Stormy Daniels.
Wow, so happy.
They're very happy. But nothing compares to this. And I left the entire applause in this one. And by the way, and then this is Colbert. And then after this law, by the way, this is not just applause on the Colbert Show. This is a standing ovation for the indictment of Donald Trump by members of the American public, thinking this is the greatest thing that's ever happened to this country. Standing ovation. It goes on and on and on. I play the thing, and then Colbert does more material, which brings in louder and louder applause. I left the rest of it out because it got tedious, but here we go.
Show. I'm your host, Stephen Colbert. Ladies and gentlemen, today I am feeling a little extra American. One reason, today is baseball's opening day. Here in New York, Here in New York, it was 40 degrees, but I still ate ice cream out of a baseball helmet. Why? Oh, just a little something worth celebrating today, because literally 3 minutes before I walked out on the stage here, the New York Times reported a New York grand jury voted to indict former President Donald J. Trump.
Oh, man. I'm glad when I see Americans happy, though. There's nothing, man. I'm happy when Americans are happy. They're very happy.
I found this a disgusting moment in American history, and the New Yorkers in particular.
Did I hear someone go?
These are just. This is hateful people.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And they're.
No,
and you saw them up there, and they showed they would throw the camera into this audience that's doing a standing ovation for this, and they're high fiving each other and patting each other, and all these New Yorkers, and it was. I just thought it was kind of sick.
I'm going to disagree a little bit there. I think these are human resources who feel very. They feel very bad about where they're at, where the world is at. They feel bad about themselves. They might be on. Most people are on some kind of drug. They're depressed, and it doesn't really matter as long as it's something that can all. It's part of the mass formation. They can all get on board with something, and it's almost like the wave at the baseball stadium. I don't even think they understand. Trump has became this thing to be together on for them, and I'm sure there's a big applause sign, and they probably practice. I'm sure the crowd, the warm up guy probably got them all jacked and ready for it. So it's. I don't know how organic it was, pretty organic, but I think these people are just, they're at this show to start with, which is a boring show, but they're probably excited about being on it. Well, I'm in a show. I'm going to be on camera. So, do they really know what they're doing? No, I think they're simple.
Okay, you can stop. Jeez.
MSNBC, though, was really off the chain. It was like, stop the presses. We are Trump indictment central. And actually, we got a little bit of analysis from Rachel Maddow, who still does a show apparently once a week.
It is true that we have never indicted a former U.S. president before, but we did indict a former U.S. vice president who had only been out of office for about 2 minutes, literally, when he was indicted in federal court in 1973. And that case, that Spiro Agnew case, did have some remarkable similarities to the reported charges against Mr. Trump today. For example,
notice Mr. Trump. I always love it when they do that, Mr. Trump.
The charges against Mr. Trump today.
I would like to know, before you continue, I'd like to know what the similarities are. Spiro Agnew was indicted for taking a literally money in a suitcase bribe.
It's
in his office.
It's the same thing, man. It's exactly the same thing. It's the same thing.
I'd like to know what the similarities are.
Some remarkable similarities to the reported charges against Mr. Trump today. For example, in Vice President Spiro Agnew's case, they charged him with taking illicit payments while he was in the White House.
Right.
In Trump's case, it's believed that the charges against him include him making illicit payments while he was in the White House.
Well, that's very similar. That's so much the same. Everyone's so creative.
My understanding was that his illicit payments
came
were
from
before he was in the White House.
Yes, and came from his attorney, not from him.
And it was before he didn't want it to get into the campaign. That's why it was done. It was before he was in the White House.
Fake news.
So she doesn't even have that part accurate? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, fact check
false.
And while Trump and Agnew were both enormously, polarizing and aggressive, very hard right politicians.
I don't know. I'm too young for Spiro Agnew. Is that true?
Yes. Agnew was, he was a smart mouth. Okay. He was funny. It was funny.
Well, so was Trump.
He'd say crazy stuff.
Oh, okay. Well, good.
And this was the era when I was a Democrat, so.
Each of which.
Oh, were you happy? Were you hooting and hollering when he got indicted? Were you, woo! Yeah, get that bastard.
Yeah.
Yeah. See?
Each of them did some enormously controversial, maybe even arguably illegal things while in office. Ultimately, what they were both charged with were things that were about being venal and petty, and they were financial charges, but in a very small change sort of way.
I think taking bribes in the White House is not quite a small thing.
No, it wasn't at all. And it was, there's some evidence that Nixon did something similar. A suitcase with $1 million in it was the way it was told. But this Agnew thing was just a straight up bribe right in his office. And there's nothing compared to being extorted.
Now let's go to Stephanie Ruhle. She's the former Wall Street girl that all the boys in the trading desk loved.
After Donald Trump's historic indictment, a well-known disinformation tracking group says there are no credible threats of violence or plans for large demonstrations as of now. But some on the far right, including Marjorie Taylor Greene, are encouraging protests. NBC News national security analyst Frank Figliuzzi is with us. He is also the former assistant director for the FBI. Frank, you track this stuff. What do you think we're in for?
What concerns me the most is people riling up lone offenders.
Ooh.
Lone offenders only have to get it right once. The FBI needs to get it right every single day.
Lone offenders, is this a variation of the lone wolf?
Yes, it is. I think it is the lone wolf. They just don't like using that term anymore.
Those lone offenders are often wound up and worked into a frenzy online. And that starts with conspiracy theorists.
Unlike the day of the Trans Day of Vengeance. Yeah, I was saying, okay.
And that starts with conspiracy theorists pushing lies that get bigger and bigger.
Hey, who are you calling a conspiracy theorist?
Are you watching for that now? Because there's a lot of people using the internet to come up with...
Is this woman a professional broadcaster? She sucks.
No, she used to be a Wall Street trader. And I heard from the former New York banker that, all the guys at the trading desk, they liked her. I don't know what that meant, but he said that with kind of...
I know what it means.
Are you watching for that now? Because there's a lot of people using the internet to come up with all sorts of explanations that make no sense.
But it means the same way she got this job.
For what's going on, for an indictment that, again, is sealed.
Yeah, chief among the disinformation, the conspiracy theories is, of course, that's a couple things. One, the federal government, the DOJ, somehow has ordered the Manhattan DA to do this. That simply is ignorance of how the system works, but no one lets facts get in the way of a perfectly good conspiracy theory. The other thing that's troubling...
Wait a minute, what was the conspiracy theory? Because I usually come up with them, so I didn't...
Federal government, the DOJ, somehow has ordered the Manhattan DA to do this. That simply is ignorance of how the system works, but no one lets facts get in the way of a perfectly good conspiracy theory. The other thing that's troubling is this attack on George Soros, that he's behind everything that's wrong with Trump world, and that somehow he donated money specifically to Alvin Bragg, and he's making this happen. When the facts are, what we know is that George Soros has never directly donated money to Alvin Bragg, but rather to a group called The Color of Change, which ended up giving some money to Alvin Bragg, but he's never even met or communicated with Alvin Bragg. So again, what's our job? I think keep putting the facts out there, counter the disinformation.
Now, this was kind of just a setup because I knew this was going to happen, and I wish I would have mentioned it because we thought they were going on vacation. Of course, when you talk about Soros, then what always comes back is, no, that's anti-Semitic. We are talking about Jews.
I've got this covered in my PBS clips on the topic.
All right, then
they pull this stunt.
I'll do these two, and then you go to PBS. How's that sound?
I like it.
Okay. Morning Joe. They really ratcheted it up.
He can't help himself. Ron DeSantis embarrassed himself.
Oh, wait. Let me read the tweet from Ron DeSantis. DeSantis tweeted, "The weaponization of the legal system to advance a political agenda turns the rule of law on its head. It is un-American. The Soros-backed Manhattan District Attorney has consistently bent the law to downgrade felonies and to excuse criminal conduct. Yet, now he is stretching the law to target a political opponent." And then he goes on.
That's so embarrassing.
No, that's anti-Semitic.
He embarrassed himself.
That's Jew hate.
You know what?
What?
Wait. He left out the part that he was naked while doing that tweet. That's the embarrassing part.
He can't help himself. Ron DeSantis embarrassed himself by saying he was going to fight extradition charges like he has any say. I mean, again, one more Republican that really just doesn't give a damn about the Constitution of the United States. And of course, you gotta just
hold on before we move on. So what DeSantis said is Florida will not assist in an extradition request given the questionable circumstances at issue with this Soros-backed Manhattan prosecutor and his political agenda. So what is the constitutional law about states cooperating with each other when it comes to an extradition request?
I think that's extra. I don't think that's in the Constitution. So it's states' rights. You can do what you want. You don't have to extradite anybody.
Thank you.
What's this line?
Look at the Soros back. No, it's just Jews. They're attacking Jewish international bankers. It's what anti-Semites.
What? They're attacking Jewish international globalist bankers.
They're attacking.
Yeah, well, it gets better.
Jewish international bankers.
Jewish international bankers.
It's what anti-Semites have been doing for hundreds of years, attacking Jewish international bankers. And that's what they do. They try to blame everything on Jewish international bankers.
Do you think he's saying it enough? Is he repeating Jewish international bankers enough? And I don't think, last time I checked, Soros is a banker. He's a hedge fund guy at best.
Jewish international bankers. And that's what they do. They try to blame everything on Jewish international bankers. It's Germany, 1933. But why does Ron DeSantis further embarrass himself by saying, I'm going to ignore the Constitution and I'm not going to extradite Trump to New York?
So was it Jewish international bankers who the Nazis went after in 1933?
Not that I know of. There's another thing. They're all circling the wagon. All these guys. Mm-hmm. I find this distressing.
Well, wait for Joy Reid.
They're all circling the wagons around Soros, who's a creep, and he was a Nazi, and he sent his own people to the gas chamber and did so with glee and thought it was the best time of his life. We've got clips of this.
I love it when you talk about this and a train actually honks its horn in the background.
Yeah, the train went by.
That is the best. Yes, we have this multitude of clips saying that was one of the happiest times of his life.
That's what he said.
Exactly what he said. But we forgot one little extra thing about this. It's not just the Jewish international bankers. Alvin Bragg is black.
You know, Donald Trump is now bragging that he's raised something like $4 million. He's sort of out there with a lot of bravado, as if he's not afraid at all. But we now know that this is going to be a real booking. He's going to get his fingerprints taken. He's going to go through what you had to go through. He's going to go
not exactly the same. Not exactly.
Cohen again.
The same. And well, it's going to be very different. I mean, he is the former president of the United States, and there's a certain deference. I was handcuffed. Don't forget, I went through that processing twice. Second time with the unconstitutional remand.
I'm sorry. This is not the one I wanted to play from. This is the one I wanted to play from Joy Reid.
My editorial comment is, it is a statement without dignity. The governor of Florida does not know the facts, so he cannot talk about questionable facts in this case. He doesn't know them. Only the grand jury knows, and this is a sealed indictment. So he's making a statement about something he doesn't know the answer to.
Apparently everyone else at MSNBC knows what's going to happen.
And throwing out, as you said, Andrew, dog whistles. Historically, this meme, this idea among the right that African Americans, that black folks who are in positions are controlled by some Jewish overseer who's pulling their strings.
I love this. She took it to the max. So not only is it anti-Semitic against Jewish international bankers, but the bankers, they control the blacks. Come on, Joy Reid, take it home.
That's what that statement reads like. And perhaps this governor should maybe read a history book to speak, because he might not understand what he is channeling. But he is channeling an era in American history that is one of the most ugly, that he's probably not allowing to be taught in school. But that idea that this prosecutor, and by the way, it's not just this prosecutor, Andrew, and I'll let you go on this and let you have a final word on it. It was a grand jury that looked at facts, that looked at evidence, and this grand jury took a vote, which is part of our system. And so for the governor of one of our largest states and most important states to throw out a miasma of words that are meant to trigger the far right for his political ambitions that really do sound like that old meme that this black prosecutor must be under the secret control of this, murky Jewish millionaire. That could be 1950, and it is not dignified. It's beneath the dignity of a governor.
I love it. It's 1933. It's 1950. I love miasma. This is a word I was not familiar with, which is a vaporous exhaltation formerly believed to cause disease. Miasma. That's a great word.
Not sure she used it correctly.
She didn't use it in the right sentence, that's for sure. But so there you go. That's what they got. You're anti-Semitic, you're racist, you're igniting horrible things from the past, 1933, 1950. Whoa. Did that happen when they arrested, when they indicted Spiro Agnew? Was everyone all like, and Spiro Agnew was, what was he? What is Agnew? Greek, yes. Did they
Greek?
Did they invoke any of these things? Any of that?
No. This is all recent.
So PBS did the same. Apparently, they had the same angle.
Well, they did a more elaborate report. This is a bunch of clips, but
I'm good.
It brings in our new friend.
Oh, we have a new friend.
This is the woman Laura something Lopez.
Who's new? Yes, she's the new star.
She's the one who came out and said that the George Floyd riots in Portland in 2020 were from the right wing. They were right-wing riots.
Right-wing riots, yes, of course.
She's got another one in this little pile of crap that we're going to listen to from PBS, which has gone off the deep end, gone woke.
Yes.
Let's start with clip one.
New York City on alert tonight for potential unrest following the indictment of Donald Trump, the first former president to be charged with a crime. Mr. Trump previously warned of potential death and destruction if charges were brought. The indictment reportedly includes more than 30 counts stemming from hush money payments allegedly paid to Stormy Daniels during the 2016 campaign. While the specific charges Mr. Trump faces are still...
I really like I can just see that insert shot of her going, "Hi, everyone."
Yeah,
this is great.
That's exactly
well done.
Sealed. Political backlash was fast and fierce. Mr. Trump slamming Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg as a disgrace and dismissing the case as another witch hunt.
He's ready to fight.
His attorney says the former president was shocked by news of the indictment.
Shocked, I tell you.
Despite Mr. Trump saying on social media earlier this month he expected to be arrested in connection with the investigation.
I've never been more angry about a charge because today the rule of law in the United States of America died.
God bless. Former President Trump's supporters quickly flocked to his Florida home.
If we don't stand up for what's right, then we're no better than Venezuela.
And many of his potential 2024 rivals rushed to his defense.
The American people will see this for what it is.
Former Vice President Mike Pence, who has been critical of Mr. Trump's role in the January 6th insurrection, said these charges go too far.
The unprecedented indictment of a former president of the United States for a campaign finance issue is an outrage. And I think it's clear to the overwhelming majority of the American people that this is nothing short of a political prosecution.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis called the indictment un-American. And former Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson, who previously said Mr. Trump should drop out of the 2024 race if he was indicted, called the news a dark day for America, adding that while Mr. Trump is presumed innocent, the grand jury found credible facts to support the charges. For his part, Donald Trump spent last night on the phone, shoring up support among Republican allies in Congress.
I just love how they all know exactly what the indictment is, but no one knows, and we don't really know. I mean, they're not even saying people close to the grand jury or familiar with the grand jury's thinking. None of that. And did they mention in this report, as you go through your presentation here, that the Jacob Chansley, the so-called QAnon shaman, was released from prison 14 months early?
That was mentioned, but not in this report.
Yeah, okay, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, well, I think it's Tucker's report that got him out.
Yeah, well, they obviously knew that they couldn't keep him. They couldn't do anything with him. Anyway, go ahead.
All right, onward.
This is legal voodoo. You got a misdemeanor that's been made a felony.
Lindy Hop.
Nobody in the history of New York City has ever been prosecuted under this theory except for Donald J. Trump.
House Speaker Kevin McCarthy accused the Manhattan DA of weaponizing our sacred system of justice and said House Republicans would investigate Alvin Bragg's actions. As for reaction from the White House,
I have no comment on that.
President Biden choosing not to weigh in as he spoke to reporters this morning.
Doesn't know what's going on.
The current president opting to stay out of an active criminal matter while focusing on his own agenda.
I decided that really my loyalty can no longer be to a man who doesn't deserve it.
But the key witness, Michael Cohen, who spent hours testifying to the grand jury in recent weeks and previously pleaded guilty to federal charges connected to the hush money payments, said Mr. Trump is finally being held accountable.
He's seething right now. He is beyond angry. He doesn't understand accountability. And right now, Alvin Bragg has finally put that into his lap.
Donald Trump is expected to be in court for the first time Tuesday afternoon. When Donald Trump is arraigned on the 15th floor of the courthouse behind me, he'll have to enter a plea on the charges. It's not clear whether he'll be handcuffed during that appearance, but we know he will be photographed, fingerprinted, and processed for a felony arrest. His legal team is expected to vigorously fight these charges, but a timeline for a potential trial right now remains unclear. Meantime, we've not seen any demonstrators or protesters today, but given concerns about the potential for violence on the scale of what transpired during the January 6th insurrection, the NYPD says it's working with its law enforcement partners at every level of government to prepare accordingly.
Which they didn't do at January 6th, even though they were given a heads up.
Just a question. Besides the, hi, everybody, did they have Stormy Daniels on any of these?
No. I have not seen Stormy Daniels, and also especially the normal media, the M5M left-wing media. Mm-hmm. I would say that there's not one mention or even a showing of his Bragg's, the DA's when he ran for office, going on and on while he was running, that he was going to get Trump. That was his promise.
Times,
and you think that would have something to do with the analysis?
Times Radio. I have 19 seconds of Stormy Daniels. That's the Times in the UK. They had her on, and I don't want to play this 19 seconds. When you hear it, you'll understand why, and she may not be the best witness.
I was about to ask how you feel about potentially taking the stand and potentially having to face Trump in court.
You know, I've seen him naked. He's a lot. There's no way he could be scarier with his clothes on. And after what Avenatti put me through last January, the
coke.
You know, I'm not scared.
Thank you. Yeah, she's coked up, man.
That's coke. That's
massive.
a cocaine.
Even
when you start to talk like this, you're just bordering on sounding like Kermit the Frog. It's possible that if you're using something at your nose, it's all clogged up.
No wonder they don't have sound bites of her. No one. She's going to be great on the stand.
Excellent point.
Yeah. Okay.
She can be great on the stand.
Well, that he has a tiny penis. Okay.
Now we go to this is more of the PBS stuff, but this is actually a change. They've changed from the report. Now we're going into the analysis.
Into the studio.
We bring in Ms. Lopez, who's talking about previously talked about the right-wing riots protesting George Floyd.
Yes. Okay. Here we go.
Following all of this, here is our White House correspondent, Laura Barone-Lopez. Good to see you, Laura.
Good to see you.
So what are you hearing from people you're talking to about the initial implications of Trump's bid? He is a current candidate for president, and the rest of the 2024 GOP presidential field.
So first off, this indictment does not legally disqualify the former president from running, so he is continuing to run. But I spoke to a number of GOP strategists who told me that in the short term, they believe that this helps Trump because essentially it requires all of his rivals or would-be rivals to have to respond to him, to talk about him, to define themselves in association with him. And now whether or not that extends all the way through the primary into the nomination is a big question. There's a lot of time left on the board.
So we've heard repeatedly Mr. Trump and his Republican allies calling out what they call the weaponization of the justice system, calling all of these investigations witch hunts. When you talk to extremism experts in particular, what do they tell you about the implications of that kind of language?
Wait a minute. So do we have any quotes from said extremism experts? This is a new gig. I haven't heard of the extremism expert. I like it.
So that language that you just mentioned, Amna, weaponization, has been used by Trump as well as House GOP leaders like Kevin McCarthy and Steve Scalise and a number of other Republicans. They've also used words like, quote, persecution, witch hunt. And I spoke to historian Ruth Ben-Ghiat out of New York University today, and she diagnosed that victimization language.
Hold on, I'm sorry. The question was, what are the extremism experts saying? And apparently she's the expert. And then there's some librarian or something she brings into it.
She brought in a historian from one of the New York, I think NYU.
Okay, and so that's the extremism. All right.
I guess she is, but then
I want to play it again. It's almost over. I'll play it again.
In particular, what do they tell you about the implications of that kind of language?
So that language that you just mentioned, Amna, weaponization, has been used by Trump as well as House GOP leaders like Kevin McCarthy and Steve Scalise and a number of other Republicans. They've also used words like, quote, persecution, witch hunt. And I spoke to historian Ruth Ben-Ghiat out of New York University today, and she diagnosed that victimization language.
This is a talking point of authoritarians to try and get the public to see the forces against them as discredited partisan hacks and thus retain their reputation for being the ones who are going to drain the swamp, which was Mussolini's slogan initially.
Okay. It's in the show notes. Yes.
It's in the show notes. This is bull crap. This Mussolini thing came out of it. Albright, Madeleine Albright wrote a book, and she threw it in there as a toss away that he did. He did actually say drain the swamps a couple of times, referring to actual swamps that needed draining.
No, you're kidding me.
No, I'm not.
Oh, that's
real
fantastic.
Swamps. Oh. And so PolitiFact, and it's in the show notes, had done research on this because it sounded like bull crap to them, and it turned out to be bull crap.
Fact check.
Mussolini never used drain the swamps in the sense that Trump did, and then they used the term in their little report that this phrase used as Trump uses it is all American. As American as apple pie is exactly what they said.
Interesting.
So this woman, who's a historian, who's an expert, I guess, on some sort of authoritarianism.
May I read from her bio?
Please.
Ruth Ben-Ghiat is a historian who writes about authoritarianism, democracy protection, and propaganda. She is a professor of history and Italian studies at New York University. The recipient of Guggenheim, Fulbright, and other fellowships, and advisor to protect democracy, and she's an MSNBC opinion columnist. So she's not an expert on terrorism, or what was it? Extremism, but authoritarianism, and specifically history and Italian studies. And she doesn't even know that this is bullcrap regarding Mussolini?
She doesn't want to know. She's a classic spook. I don't want to call him a liberal NYU professor that's just kind of lockstep into a certain way of thinking, and she's disqualified. Unless PolitiFact got it wrong, which doesn't seem to be the case. They were very thorough.
She wrote the book, Strongmen, Mussolini to the Present, published in 2020. A look at how illiberal leaders use propaganda, corruption, violence, and machismo, and how they can be defeated. Whoa, yeah. Wow.
So,
good catch.
The point is, this is another example, to me, having done a look at it, and then other people have, I guess, because this was controversial when Madeleine Albright made the claim, which is where I think she got this idea. Of Laura Lopez, or something Lopez, I can't pronounce her middle name, it's like convoluted. Laura Lopez bringing this stuff in. This PBS has really lost it.
Oh, yeah.
Let's play clip 4.
So you heard Ruth say there that those are hallmarks of authoritarian movements. And she also said traits of authoritarian movements are attacking the press, attacking judges, attacking prosecutors.
What about the prospects of political violence here? We've heard Mr. Trump calling for protests for a week. We saw Jeff reporting there in New York that New York officials are ramping up their security. Mr. Trump has promised death and destruction if there was an indictment. What should we look for ahead?
Okay. Where did Trump... Now, this isn't Laura's thing. This is the host woman.
Mm-hmm.
When did Trump promise death and destruction? She literally said he promised, this is a news organization, PBS, he promised death and destruction. Promised it. Where?
Can we listen again?
When?
It's so short, I want to hear it again.
So you heard Ruth say there that those are hallmarks of authoritarian movements. And she also said traits of authoritarian movements are attacking the press, attacking judges, attacking prosecutors.
What about the prospects of political violence here? We've heard Mr. Trump calling for protests for a week. We saw Jeff reporting there in New York that New York officials are ramping up their security. Mr. Trump has promised death and destruction if there was an indictment. What should we look for ahead?
Death and destruction.
He promised. Now he mentioned death and destruction.
Yes.
Warning that anything could happen. You have to be careful. It was couched, but he did not promise death and destruction. This is a lie. This is yet another PBS lie. Will people stop giving them money and give us the money? Stop giving them money.
Right on.
All right, last clip.
So on that security that New York PD is ramping up, Marjorie Taylor Greene, a big ally of Trump, a House Republican, said that she's headed to New York on Tuesday for the arraignment. She tweeted that today, saying that she's going to be going there and calling for protests, also calling it a witch hunt in her tweet. That also comes, Amna, as Fox's Tucker Carlson on air as he's talking about the indictment is telling his viewers that it's probably not a good time for them to get rid of their AR-15s. And it also comes as Trump and a number of his allies have been using dog whistle attacks, anti-Semitic attacks against, when they attack DA Alvin Bragg by saying that he is backed by George Soros, who is Jewish.
Jewish? Did she go into it and explain how that is a dog whistle, or is that just something that's implied?
No, just that was kind of it. It goes on and on, but it doesn't go into any details about how the dog whistle works. But there you go again. Now we can't say anything about George Soros because if you do, if you criticize George Soros, you're being anti-Semitic. How does that work?
Well, I guess you can't criticize Jamie Dimon then either.
You can't criticize any Jew, I guess.
Even though there's now Sergey Brin has been subpoenaed and Michael Ovitz to testify in this J.P. Morgan case where Jamie Dimon knew that Epstein was paying off sex slaves. I guess we can't talk about that then.
No.
Wow.
You can't criticize Epstein. Isn't he Jewish? You can't criticize Jeffrey Epstein.
No.
You're anti-Semitic. This is bull crap. This is a smokescreen. This is a way to cover up. And why, again, I asked the question, that was the last clip. I'm asking the question, why are they circling the wagons around Soros? What's wrong with this picture? What is wrong with public broadcasting?
He probably funds them too. Hello. You want to see how much the Open Society Institute gives to PBS? I can only guess. Even though, interestingly, Soros is. I mean, he's almost dead.
He's not even in the picture anymore.
It's
his
son. It's his son, Alex.
But the other point is, it's not even just open source, open whatever it's called.
Open Society Institute.
Open Society. It's a bunch of other ones. He's got there's 30 or 40 of these. In fact, the one they mentioned earlier in one of your reports was he
also from OSI.
Gave money through some other operation to this Bragg character.
Mm-hmm.
This is really pathetic. This is not giving us the public this is not covering the news at all. This is just covering their ass.
It's actually helping Kanye's plight in an odd way, a very odd way.
Kanye, yeah, poor guy.
All right, let's listen to a couple politicians for a second, because Lindy Hop, Lady G, was in tears almost on Sean Hannity's show.
So what's behind all this? Hatred. They tried to destroy Kavanaugh because they wanted to keep the Supreme Court seat open. They're trying to destroy Donald Trump because they fear him at the ballot box. To the conservatives out there, make sure you vote. If you got friends, make sure they vote. If you don't have any friends, go make some friends. But you need to help this man, Donald J. Trump.
Make some friends. I'm so outraged. I need friends.
They're trying
he
to.
Says if you don't have friends,
let's listen again.
To the conservatives out there, make sure you vote. If you got friends, make sure they vote. If you don't have any friends, go make some friends.
If you don't have any friends, go find some. Make some friends. You need friends.
But you need to help this man, Donald J. Trump.
That's hilarious.
They're trying to drain him dry. He spent more money on lawyers.
Whoa. I think Stormy did a good job on that.
They're trying to drain him dry. He spent more money on lawyers than most people spend on campaigns. They're trying to bleed him dry. DonaldJTrump.com. Go tonight. Give the president some money to fight this bullshit. Woo! This is going to destroy America. We're going to fight back at the ballot box. We're not going to give in. How does this end, Sean? Trump wins in court and he wins the election. That's how this ends.
Wow. And I only saw a little bit of Tucker, I think, Thursday night, because I was curious since it came out during a show day, of course. And he had, what's his face? The guy from The Blaze on, the black guy who
black guy from The Blaze? Yeah. Whitmore.
Yeah. Not Whitmore.
Yeah, the football, the analyst.
Jason Whitlock. There we go.
Whitlock. There we go.
And he said bullshit. And so there was bullshit twice on Fox.
They're listening to our show.
When we say bullshit, it's rare. We say bull crap.
Yeah, I try to say bull crap.
So do I.
And bull crap's funnier sounding. I mean, that's whenever you got Lauren Boebert's little comment, which is, I call bull crap.
Right.
I still think it's
I think we have that ISO, don't we? Let me see. Where is it?
Be under Boebert.
I think this is it.
I call bull crap.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah, that's funnier.
But then he had Glenn Beck on. Glenn Beck is a Trump hater. Am I incorrect? Has he not always been a Trump hater?
It's one of those. So was Mark Levin, the great one.
Yeah.
He was a Trump hater, and I think Hannity was too, to be honest about it, because he was a Bush family guy, so he would be for Jeb.
Yeah.
So they all hated Trump. And I'm trying to figure out of the three of them that hated Trump.
Well, wait. Listen. Did you see what happened?
With Beck?
Yeah.
No.
He put on a MAGA hat. He said, I'm MAGA now. And he put on an autograph by Trump, which I know is next to his Rush Limbaugh microphone and his studio, since I've been there. In his display case, he had a Trump hat signed by Trump.
Oh, he ended up with the Rush Limbaugh mic?
Well, he says it's the one, yeah.
Is it gold-plated?
Yeah. I mean, I've been in his museum. He has some crazy stuff in his museum. He's got all kinds of stuff from presidents and crazy.
Yeah, he looks like a hoarder.
Yeah, hoarder. Well, he's a hoarder, but he has a guy to write it down and arrange it. So that's called a museum.
A hoarder with a manager. Okay.
So, and that to me was like, whoa, there's Beck going all MAGA. That was very interesting. So now let's hear from CBS, and that will kind of wrap it up for me, I think. Elizabeth Warren, we need to have another politician on. Here she is.
As we've been saying all morning, uncharted territory, unprecedented motions. What was your reaction when you heard?
That no one is above the law, not even a former president of the United States. That's a very sober time for our country, a real moment in history.
Oh, no, she's smart. She's smart here.
And yet, I think the most important part of this is to say that a foundational piece of our democracy is holding. That it is possible to have an independent investigation, to go wherever the facts lead, and then to follow the process through. And that's going to mean to follow it all the way through, including assuming there is an arrest. If there's a trial, Donald Trump can plead not guilty. He can bring whatever evidence he wants.
But we know this in school. We're always taught no one is above the law.
Isn't that interesting how she also kind of alludes to the fact that he can prove he's not guilty? Isn't that interesting? These people are nuts. He can prove that he's not guilty. That's not how it works. But is that some kind of evil conditioning that has now come into play?
I think you might have stumbled onto something.
It happens from time to time.
Because I hadn't noticed any of this, but now that you mention it, it is kind of I wouldn't call it NLP, but it's definitely some sort of conditioning.
That they have.
Where you're guilty until you can prove yourself innocent.
Let's listen to the next clip from her.
Why are no Republicans saying this? We hear Lindsey Graham saying this is legal voodoo, political persecution, political hatred, that this is all about a political witch hunt. Why are there no Republicans, not one, saying that no one is above the law, that this is all about politics? It's hard not to see it. It's hard not to see a political lens on this, is it not?
I can't answer for the Republicans. I can only answer for myself. And for myself, it's about backing off and letting the system work. Trust in the process. There is no reason to believe there's been anything other than an independent investigation. It's walked through all the steps. It is a grand jury, according to the evidence released.
What evidence released? Have you seen any evidence released? She's doing some kind of psyop here.
Jury, according to the evidence released, that has voted independently, and we will go forward with that process. And that process offers plenty of opportunity for Donald Trump or anyone else accused of a crime to bring forward whatever evidence they want, to use whatever part of the legal system they want. But we follow the law for everyone because it's foundational in our democracy.
Wow.
I remember sitting in class.
Wow. Wait, before what's her face goes into remember sitting in class, she does it again here. It's foundational to our democracy. You can bring anything you want. You can follow. I'm going to play that again. You can follow the law. You can bring anything you want to prove your innocence. No, Pocahontas.
That has voted independently. And we will go forward with that process. And that process, School Marm is going to explain that process now. Offers plenty of opportunity for Donald Trump or anyone else accused of a crime to bring forward whatever evidence they want, to use whatever part of the legal system they want. But we follow the law for everyone because it's foundational in our democracy.
I remember sitting in class
foundational.
I remember
everybody gets treated the same.
But this is the thing that's so concerning. Donald Trump is calling for, in his words, death and destruction. He's calling for his allies to rally behind him. He's asking people to please speak up.
Death and destruction.
I find this is truly abhorrent for Elizabeth.
I'm glad you got this because you're onto something. Because what she said, in fact, you don't have to bring anything to prove your innocence.
At all. You don't have to bring a single thing.
You could just plop yourself down, and if they can't prove you're guilty, you're out of there.
But you
don't have to prove anything if you didn't do anything and they can't prove you did.
Is she not a professor of law?
This is really, I think you've stumbled onto something that's very, very It's bad.
Yeah.
It's dark.
And
let's just as a reminder, I hate to play this clip over and over again, but it goes right back to good old John Brenner,
former director of CIA.
People are innocent until alleged to be involved in some type of criminal activity.
So you're innocent until alleged to be guilty of some kind of criminal activity, and then have they all? No, I can't believe there was a meeting and they said, "Hey, I got an idea."
There was no meeting. This is all organic.
But how does that happen? How does that happen? Well, I got one more clip.
Are you worried about violence in the streets?
Dangerous rhetoric, yeah.
Yeah, it's very. I'm very concerned about that.
It is dangerous, and violence is never the answer. This is part of the reason we have a court system, so that we don't resolve these things.
Are you worried about it? Are you worried about it?
I always worry about violence. But again, I think that's why it's important for as many people as possible to take a deep breath, to be calm, to step back and say, this is one more step in the legal process. Donald Trump is going to have plenty of opportunities to make his case in open court, and the prosecution will have the same opportunity. Let the process go forward. No one is above the law.
Wow. So their star witnesses are Michael Cohen, the guy who says, etc., and this chick.
I've seen him naked. He's a lot. There's no way he could be scarier with his clothes on. And after what Avenatti put me through last January, I'm not scared.
Trial of the century. I can't wait to watch it.
Well, I know you played that Stormy Daniels clip twice, but for that one, I'm giving you a borderline clip of the day.
No, thank you. I'll take it. Clip of the day. And with that, I'd like to thank you for your courage. Say in the morning to you, the man who put the DOS C in a can. Please say hello to my friend on the other end, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. John C. Dvorak.
In the morning to you, Mr. Adam Curry. Also in the morning, all ships, sea boots on the ground, feet in the air, subs in the water, and all the dames and knights out there.
And we got plenty of show left. This is just the first two topics we've done. So if you leave, that's on you, because you'll have to prove your innocence. Let's see how many we have in the troll room right now. We have, they were waiting for us, 2,472. We could lose 500. Get out of here. Leave. Yes, you can leave. We don't need you. We'll keep 2,000. We don't need you. We don't need you at all. That is trollroom.io, where you can listen live on Thursdays and Fridays, where we call bullcrap on everything. That's what we do. That's our main job. And people seem to get peace somehow with this stuff. When we dissect this bullcrap, it makes people think about the words that are being used and the NLP, I'm going to say it, and psychological warfare by our politicians and news media and just, and luckily we do it with humor, because we're stupid. We're just some old dudes. So, and that's why people come to us to listen.
Speak up.
And to feel good about, okay, let's just put this into perspective. All right, go outside, sniff whatever Stormy Daniels is sniffing. Oh, my God. Oh, my goodness. Now, you can also follow us for as long as it lasts at noagendasocial.com, which is Adam at noagendasocial.com, John C. Dvorak at noagendasocial.com. And we recommend porting over your podcast subscriptions to a modern podcast app, one that you can't be deplatformed. Your shows will not go away. And you can also get the modern lit environment where the minute we go live and other shows go live, it pings you, lets you know. You pop in there, you got the troll room, you got live stream and everything, podcastapps.com. And we'd like to thank, as part of our value for value system, which, as you know, is time, talent, and treasure, we want to thank our artist who brought us the artwork for episode 1542, titled Digital Dementia. Actually, Someone said that term showed up somewhere else, that people are starting to use digital dementia, which I thought was kind of interesting. It's a
good term.
We want to thank Darren O'Neill, who brought us the artwork, the No Agenda Electronic Brain, AI powered, which was, you said right off the bat, this is the one. Yeah, I went to let the dog out.
Well, I had to do that right off the bat because you hate Darren.
No, I do hate him. It's true. That's true. This is fact.
Well, I went over it because you had to take a break. And I was looking, the ones I like was the Pause AI by Fletcher, which I use for the newsletter.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought it was cute, but it was hard. You couldn't read the thing, and but it was obvious that Darren's piece was. He just he got into his mind to do this with that one of those stupid games. I remember those.
Yeah.
From the back in the.
What was that game where you
had to touch something, and you had to match it with something else. It showed how a circuit worked.
Oh,
it was just some dumb thing, but it was, I guess, educational at the time.
It was retro, man. It was truly retro.
And the piece was done with a, he had I know where he got that art, but I'm sure he didn't draw it.
No, I'm sure he stole that.
It was a classic.
Comics or Blogger didn't call him out as stealing, so.
Well, because he probably couldn't find it. I also like The Electric Brains by Melvin Gibstein. And he,
Electric Brain.
It's just you couldn't read the best podcast in the singularity.
Oh, right. It
was a good piece.
Yes, that was a good piece, and there was another one. People had some good AI stuff, which I think we pulled apart appropriately.
And of course, Comic Strip Blogger did. Identity Crisis, AI generated, so not stolen. Come on, AC, don't be anti-AI.
I'm very anti-AI, and we can see it right away. So if I can see it, we're not going to use it.
Well, it wasn't a good piece anyway.
No, but if we can see it, if we can hear it, if we can smell it, we're not using it. We're against that. We like human beings. We like, don't call it a tool. Not a tool at all. Now, of course, if Sir Anonymous of Dogpatch in Lower Slobovia sent me an email. And by the way, I have to apologize. I'm not quite sure what happened. Somehow we repented for giving out the incorrect code, his donation number 2254, and we had said 2252. I'm not sure what happened, but the original show, I had a crash of my editing software. And there was a gap, and I think that gap contained the actual coded number. So it's 2254, in case that is important for world peace. But he pinged me, and he said, so how are you guys going to feel about when AI starts using bits of your show? I'm like, great! We've always encouraged that.
We have lawyers.
No, we're not going to sue anybody.
I think we should if AI is stealing it and making it its own.
Yeah, but if they're promoting our show with it, I have no problem.
You think that's going to happen? I don't see the promotion of anything what AI is done. They don't reference anything. They don't promote anything. They don't say where the material came from. Right now, it's only from Wikipedia, or mostly from Wikipedia, which is open source.
I would be thinking about a piece of audio, is what I would be thinking.
Well, a piece of audio that goes on and on about something, and then they credits it to someone else. I don't think that's what we want.
No, if they credit it to someone else, that's a problem, of course.
That's what it'll do.
Show me the first. Here's one, because Sir Gene is all in on AI. Ooh, it's so good. And I forgive him.
Sir Gene is now the poster boy for AI.
I forgive him. I forgive him for this. But so he sent me this short movie made by AI, and it's the end of the world. Of course, it's AI. And then they have a Biden voice in there, which actually wasn't too bad. And then they come in with Trump. Oh, man, it's so bad. I defy any AI to do a perfect Trump. It cannot be done. And it's not just how he sounds, it's what he's saying. I can smell that and hear that a mile away. I don't think AI will ever be able to do it. Even actors can't do it. There's very few who can get the voice kind of right. The guy in SNL, he comes very close, but you can hear it. We're not going to be fooled by this. Now, people getting fooled by Dylan Mulvaney with Bud Light. Okay, that's on you. Why are you watching that at all? Anyway, I digress. Other things we looked at were, I kind of liked we didn't even talk about it, Francisco Scaramanga with the AI curve.
Yeah.
I liked that one, but I only saw that later, and I didn't fight for it. But it probably still would have lost out to the Electronic Brain, which is just a dynamite piece. We thank you, Darren O'Neill.
And Darren has not hit one for a while.
He's not hitting it.
I think a couple of years ago, he did the most all year.
He has not been hitting it lately. Poor Darren.
Well, the competition has gone.
It's stiff.
Through the roof.
It is stiff. So NoAgendaArtGenerator.com is where you can follow along, where you can always, even if you're listening live, it's cool to do that. But of course, if you want, you can get that Modern Podcast app. It'll show you a whole bunch of these in the chapters. Also something you don't get on legacy apps. So that's the time and talent portion. For Treasure, we go to our executive and associate executive producers, kicking it off with, right off the bat, with a $1,000 donation from another dude named Ben. And he sent in a handwritten note, and I will read some of it. It's quite long. Adam and John, sorry this donation is so long to find you. I've been listening close to 3 years now. I find your show informative and refreshing. A refreshing voice away from the mainstream media who have been pumping us full of buffalo feathers for quite some time. I like buffalo feathers. Let me write that down. Is that a term, buffalo feathers?
Not that I know of, but it is now.
I like it. Buffalo feathers. Okay, buffalo feathers. I finally decided to quit procrastinating and donate after hearing Adam speak on the JRE episode a few months ago. I commend you for you taking a stand as a follower and brother in Jesus Christ. And he goes on, he says, and actually he says something interesting. He says, I wish that Joe could become a Christian. I said, well, you should pray for him. So we really appreciate it. And he says, thank you very much. From another dude named Ben, this one in commercial concrete construction. And we love our dudes named Ben. They are the ones that keep the world alive and very much appreciate it. And I don't know, did he didn't ask for a night name. He didn't ask for a knighting.
Did he get put on the list?
He's not on the list. So I want to wait. So he should probably give us a knight name. I don't even know if he realizes that he can be knighted, and I'd like him to do that. So for now, I'm going to give him a D-douche.
You've been D-douched.
And please write back to us and let us know what you'd like to be and what your roundtable rewards are, etc. And thank you very much. We really appreciate that.
Since you're in the mood for reading, I think you should read the next note.
Nairobi Dino from Aberdour in Scotland. He said, and that's $334. You may recall my first donation back in March of 2021 from hospital, not the hospital. When I had pericarditis from the first vaccination and you played the end of show mix, there's no AstraZeneca in Spain, to the tune of Three Dogs Night, Never Been to Spain. I was listening to this at 4:30 in the morning in my hospital room, and I laughed so hard the nurse came in wondering what was wrong with me. The irony was too much. I had to laugh. And of course, that healed him immediately. Oh, no. Unfortunately, following that medical episode, although I was very hesitant, my cardiac consultant assured me and insisted I should get a second vaccination, saying the mantra, goodness.
Wow.
Don't laugh at him. That's not fun. That's not nice.
Oh, brother.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, the first one didn't kill you. Just try number 2. Come on.
Yeah, can do it.
What's the worst that could happen?
Oh, my goodness. Let's see. Saying the mantra the NHS uses regarding people being negatively affected by the vaccine, quote, correlation does not imply causation. I can just hear him say it already. On receiving the second vaccine, I had a heart attack. Oh, man. This is no good. Why am I laughing?
You are sick to be laughing at this poor man.
I have had 3 in total following the second vaccination. Oh, my goodness. Now they have on my medical notes, no vaccines. Something that the No Agenda show was saying all along. Sadly, this is no laughing matter now. Oh.
No, okay.
And although I am recovering well, I regret ever taking the vaccine, and I wish I had listened to you, the best podcast in the universe. So in light of me being a numpty and not taking your advice, please de-douche me.
You've been de-douched.
What? We should mention we've never given advice like
never
that.
Given
we have
advice.
Never given this advice.
We have not. We have only...
All we do is present
evidence,
the facts of the matter.
Yep.
And you can just make your own damn decision. There's plenty of people that listen to the show. They've gotten the vax. They feel fine. They have no problems with it. And there's plenty of other people right off the bat. For example, our friend up there, and I guess he was in Denver, the paramedic who took the vax early on, and we just read his report.
That's right.
We do not give medical advice on this show.
He's in Boulder. No, we do not. That's correct. So we deduced him. He says he'd like some yak karma for good health. And he said, could, just for one last time, please, 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 could you play We Told You So on No Agenda? Even though we didn't tell you so. I'll do that by request. And he says, could you possibly play There's No AstraZeneca in Spain at the end of the show? Yes, I will. It's in the mix. And that is from Professor Professor John, who is in China. And that was one of his better ones. He sent many, many, many that have never made the show, and that was one that did. With this donation, I am so proud to join the roundtable and would like to be knighted Sir Scotland the Brave, and would ask to have haggis, neeps, and tatties at the roundtable. We told you so on No Agenda.
You've got...
There we go.
Karma.
And brother, health karma for you, man. Health karma for you.
Yeah. Leo Bravo is up next. He's in Los Angeles, California. He came with 333.34. And he has the finest note of the day. Karma to all.
You've got karma.
Next, we've got Robert Barnes in Murraysville, Pennsylvania, 333.33. Adam's analysis last week about TikTok exemplifies why I listen to and donate to No Agenda. I like the cut of Dvorak's jib, too. That's an old school word. Thank you for your courage. No jingles, no karma. Robert Barnes, you got it.
Kevin Collins from Meadows of Dan. Let me stretch that out. What does it say? Probably says it on your spreadsheet.
Meadows of Dan.
Meadows of Dan, that's just it,
that's
Virginia?
It.
Meadows of Dan, Virginia?
Apparently.
Okay, 333.33. And his almost as short a message, double up karma, please.
You've got
double up
karma.
333.33 from Michael Smith as well from Shreveport, Louisiana. John and Adam, first, let me get this out of the way. Rodney, stop being such a douchebag. And that goes for all the other listeners out there that haven't donated. The No Agenda show should not be free content for you. Consider the amount of money you waste on cable and streaming services. How much value do you get out of these services compared to the value you gain from the best podcast in the universe? You find yourself here listening twice a week. The answer is simple. Donate. Lastly, get involved. Set up a Mastodon account. Email boots on the ground content. Go to a meetup. I've been fortunate enough to meet Adam and the Keeper, Dame Jennifer Fletcher, and the Dirty Jersey Whore, as well as many other great producers over the past few years. Yes, I remember him from the Bastrop meetup. Gentlemen, please accept this donation in the amount of 333.33. This completes my knighthood, and I'd like to be knighted as Sir Smithiot. Please serve ribeye and Bell's Two-Hearted Ale at the round table. Got it. Ordered. So done. John and Adam, thank you for all you do. I was looking for answers a few years ago, and I'm so grateful I found you in this wonderful No Agenda community. No jingles, no karma. Sincerely, Michael Smith, Shreveport, Louisiana.
So Smithiot, it sounds like it's got to be some sort of a gag.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, onward to Felix Rios in San Jose, California, 333.33, no note. So give him a double up karma.
You've got
double up
karma.
Now, we had Baron West from Seattle, Washington, and he also sent 333. He said, Dear Adam and John, please see letter I sent by email, Baron West of the Balderdash. I did not find anything. Did you?
I'm looking at the pile of notes.
While you look, I'll continue. Sir Brian in Aurora, Illinois, 333. Switcheroo, Sir Brian with a Y here. This donation from the Aurora, Illinois meetup. Please give Justin from St. Charles the executive producer credit from the Aurora, Illinois meetup donation. He didn't want the credit, but almost all of this donation is his. Well, you got it, man. I'm putting him in right now, and he is good to go. Anything from Baron West?
No, it's not in the... Oh, okay. Well, let me keep looking. Hold on, one more place.
Okay. Tim Worth comes in as our first associate executive producer from Overland Park, Kansas. Roa Ducks, 222.22. Hello, Raven. Reverend Al Medley always makes me laugh. And an F cancer, please. Okay.
Straight from Reseda, here she is, Raven. Give it up.
Thanks.
Good evening,
to
Rev.
you. And is this Groundhog Day 2? We are watching that was Attorney General Eric Holder, ABDs, about some Republicans at home are already beating the drums of war. Today, the Pentagon refuted that claim. And he said the American people do not want him to, quote, dwindling, they do not want him dwindling his thumb.
You've got karma.
Anything from Baron
All right,
West?
hold on 1 second where I take one peek at this.
Anonymous.
No, there's nothing. I can't find it. I don't know where it was sent. And we should remind people, and they're starting to forget already, that these kind of notes should be sent to notes@noagendashow.net.
On that
notes at noagendashow.net, and anything else that you don't send there, make sure to put donate in the subject line. And people are forgetting that too.
And on that note, you put in the newsletter that you had a SSD crash and that therefore the Q1 change of Dvorak.org/NA did not take place. Can we expect it this week?
No, we can expect it within Q2.
I'm not going to accept that. Q2. No! You promised. How hard is it?
I'm just like a software guy.
I'm just going to ask Jay to do it. If Jay does it, it'll be fantastic.
We'll get it done. Yeah, I had my SSD blew up, and I can't boot the machine, so I flipped it around there. It wasn't the machine because I put another one in and it worked fine. But so I do have a possibility of fixing that. It's a long shot.
Because people have been sitting there with their Bitcoin waiting to donate, which we promised would be.
Well, the
there.
Bitcoin thing is just a what do you call it?
A link, a QR code.
It's a code. It's one of those.
You want to add it? You want to add it for the in the next newsletter?
You can just put it up. Sure, put it up. We have it floating around.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
So which one are we on?
Anonymous.
Okay, Anonymous in Truth or Consequences, New Mexico. That's cool. In the morning to you, gents. I choose to remain anonymous, mostly to spare you from breaking your jaws when pronouncing my name. Please de-douche me.
You've been de-douched.
Send some goat and yak karma my way. Much love to you both and to the No Agenda Nation.
You've got karma.
Sir Salahauser in Melbourne, Florida, $200 in the morning. John and Adam, thanks for all you do. Shout out to all the Central Florida producers and douchebags. What's up, y'all? I just began my own wealth management firm, so some sales karma would be great. Thanks, Sir Salahauser of the 321.
You've got karma.
Christopher Edmondson in Woodbury, Tennessee. Sir TJ, the Wrathful hit me in the mouth a year ago. Please de-douche me.
You've been de-douched.
It was Sir TJ, the Wrathful. Okay. I'd also like to ask for general karma for my family, some baby-making karma for Sir TJ.
Ooh.
He is trying to catch up in the number of human resources. So it's a competition.
Does he need more? I think he already has 3. All right, good to go. Thank you very much.
You've got karma.
And that is our associate executive producer. We have the number of other donators is low enough that we can read them all now.
I thought we were going to do a second break.
It's actually shorter than most of our second break.
Yeah, but then I still got nights and birthdays and meetups.
Yeah.
Why don't we do them in the second break? Let's do a second break.
Okay.
I'm telling you.
A very short second break.
Well,
this was top heavy today.
Yeah, well, I want the bottom. The bottom will even it out because we got a lot of birthdays and we got meetups and all kinds of stuff, and to make good. So let's do that.
Sounds good.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much to our executive and associate executive producers. We very much appreciate what you've done here. These are, of course, forever credits. You can use them anywhere credits are recognized. It's the real deal. Go look at IMDb. You can put it there. You can put it in your resume. In fact, it seems to work better than pronouns, I'm reliably informed. If you'd like to know how to become a knight, that as well, or an exec or associate executive producer, go to our donation website.
Dvorak.org/NA.
And, of course, a karma for anybody who needs it.
You've got karma.
And thank you all very much for supporting the best podcast in the universe, episode 1543.
Our formula is this.
We go out, we hit people in the mouth. Order.
Shut up, slave.
Shut up, slave.
I should mention that there's been some horrible accident, I suppose, on the Nimitz Freeway, Highway 80, because it's been stopped dead for the last 10 minutes. Stopped dead for the last 10 minutes, a huge jam up. And I was hearing a bunch of skidding earlier, and I figure what happened is, I'm just guessing because I can't see down the road where it was. Somebody hit a pothole.
Oof.
Probably flipped the car.
One of your main complaints.
After hitting the pothole, probably another car hit the pot. They probably crashed in midair, and now this whole thing stopped.
Oh, that's horrible.
Because we're spending all our money on fixing potholes in Ukraine.
I want to. I got two clips here. Clip Custodian sent these to me from Fox, and I think it's a trap being set here. Dr. Jeanette Neshiwat, I think is her name, came on to discuss. There's been a lot of concern about the World Health Organization and the so-called treaty, the World Health Organization treaty that all countries are signed, that have actually already signed on to. But there's an update that we've discussed it, and it's being discussed, and the actual vote failed once, but they're going to come back to it. And the idea is that the World Health Organization would have complete control over our health services in the West. Because, of course, they're mainly China controlled, and Bill Gates, all the same thing. And so what we know from what we've deconstructed about this treaty is that it does not need to be ratified the way the language will be written, because the treaty, the United States is already a member of the treaty, as are the EU. And so they can just add to it if they vote on that themselves, and it can just kind of be slipped in. It is my belief that...
Wait, this is like you're telling me there's a treaty out there that's like a EULA? Where in there it says we can change this at any time without notice?
That's a very good analogy. Yes. It doesn't. Well, and it doesn't need to be ratified again. Yes, it is like a EULA. That's my understanding. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a doctor. I'm certainly not Dr. Jeanette. It is my belief that they are setting a trap by calming everybody, certainly the people who would be concerned about that, which would be the people who watch Fox News, and they're probably lying to us. So I wanted to play these two clips so we can figure out what's going on.
All right, what is your reaction about what the WHO has said? They're saying that healthy children and teenagers probably don't need the COVID vaccine. They say the traditional shots are more important.
Yeah, that's right. So the World Health Organization is coming out with their new guidelines. They do say if you're still high risk to get a booster every 6 months to a year. But when it comes to age 6 months of age and up to 17 years of age, that's not recommended for most young teenagers. And that makes sense. Kids, they are the lowest risk group when it comes to severe complications with COVID. And on top of that, we've reached a level of population immunity. Many children, more than 88%, have already had COVID. So they have that protection from natural immunity. And many of them also have had vaccines. So when you combine protection from vaccination, protection from infection and reinfection, you're at low risk. And it makes sense that you don't need to have that additional shot unless you have any underlying medical circumstances. But is it a significant public health benefit to vaccinate toddlers? At this point, the answer is no.
So this, to me, is the setup. They're telling you, hey, the World Health Organization is actually kind of saying something good. They're not saying what the CDC is saying, not saying what the FDA is saying. They're saying, no, you shouldn't do that.
There are a lot of parents that don't want their children vaccinated. What do you think this means for the fall? When schools go back into classes, our children go back into the classes, do you think that the schools will take this information and use that and say you don't need to be vaccinated?
I hope so. I hope the CDC follows the recommendations of the world. Sometimes, like, for example, the World Health Organization said do not mask children, yet our CDC said mask our children. So I do hope they follow suit and understand that the children are the lowest risk group, and we should not, place on them all of these restrictions and guidelines. Let them be free. Let them live. Let them develop that natural immunity with all the other viruses that are out there.
What'd she say?
Just let them live.
Let them live.
Just let the kids live already. Do you understand what I'm saying? They're making it sound like, our CDC, even though the World Health Organization is saying
I know
what
you're saying.
Yeah, they're saying, they're stricter. You don't have to. I think this is a setup, and we're all going to be like, our CDC is just a bunch of dicks. But wait until the new treaty, the new EULA is in place. Just saying, that felt a little trappy to me.
Yeah, could be.
A little trappy. I got some.
I had those clips too, but
you did?
I didn't see it that way.
Oh, do you still see it? Do you still see it differently?
No, that's an interesting thesis. I'm not going to get into a debate.
You're not going to disagree with me?
I'm not going to disagree. I have some COVID clips since we're on the topic.
Oh, okay, good. That's about all I had of COVID.
Well, my COVID Who News No Booster is the same as what you played.
Okay.
But I got a kick out of listening to Rand Paul go after Blinken.
Abe, okay.
This is and this went on for 10 minutes, and I took about looks like I took about 4 minutes out of it with 3 clips. And there was some good stuff in here, but I tried to get the best stuff. But let's listen to him go after Blinken right off the top here. Rand Paul versus Blinken.
On September 12th and November 7th of last year, I sent letters to the State Department asking for records about coronavirus research that had been funded by the State Department. The State Department refused to comply. When Assistant Secretary Sherman came, I asked her the same question. She didn't seem to be aware that you had been funding coronavirus research, but you are. And I got the "I'll get back to you" line. A couple weeks later, I met personally with you at the State Department and asked you the same question. Will you not divulge to us the records of the State Department's support for coronavirus research, particularly in China? You assured me you would help. We communicated several times over the phone with another Assistant Secretary of State who finally sent us a letter and said, no, we're not going to give you anything. So that's where we stand. And it's my question is, what's the State Department hiding? Why won't you give these records to the American people?
Senator, thank you. And yes, I appreciated you raising this when we saw each other a month or so ago. And my understanding is that our teams have been working to find an accommodation. There's longstanding practice.
We got a refusal, blanket refusal. No, they are not going to give us the records.
We cannot directly provide the
sure you can.
Unredacted cables. We have a longstanding practice with this committee about how we do.
You're refusing to release them.
No, but
it's not that you can't. There's a difference between can and may. You won't do it, but you can do it.
My hope is that we can find a way forward that answers your concerns so that you get the information that you're looking for. My understanding is that our teams have been working on that, and I commit to continue to do that so we can get you the
We're talking about unclassified material. Most of this is unclassified. And so we just had a unanimous vote in the Senate and in the House, and President Biden just signed a bill saying he's going to declassify stuff. But if you declassify it and you still hide it from the American people, that's a problem.
Oh, really? We don't see it that way. That's not a problem. You don't need to know anything. Shut up, pleb.
So, of course, this isn't being covered by anybody.
Except
they made a big fuss, as you noticed.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, we have another big fuss that we mentioned on the last show that somebody clarified for us, which is the authorization for military
use of force.
They kicked out 2 of them, but they left in the 2021 version, which is the most important one.
No, the 2001.
No, it's the 2021. Or I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I have the date. I have the note. I have to read the note. But let's get back to this. I'm sorry. We're getting off topic. But this is an example, though, where, everyone grandstands, where all pastors are going to release all those documents, and then they don't release anything.
Oh, why bother with the little people?
Yeah, screw us. Okay, that's part 2. This is part 2, which is interesting. It introduces the USAID into the picture.
I mean, we spend all of this time lambasting authoritarians, and for lack of transparency, we have these silly networks on TV that are aligned with the Democrat Party saying democracy's under attack. Well, do you think transparency has something to do with democracy?
Nice.
You're refusing to give records on research, money that went for research. We want to read the research grant proposals. We want to read what the people in Wuhan sent back to the State Department saying they did. Which viruses did they create? Because the thing is it sounds all great. We're going to identify all the viruses of the world. But part of what they do is they take a virus they found 200 feet down in a cave, and they mix it with another virus to create a virus that doesn't exist in nature, because they say that's how we're going to further identify it. There's a big debate that should be had whether that's safe. To take a virus from 100 feet down a bat cave 12 hours south of Wuhan and take it to a city of 10 million. And yet you won't help us investigate this. You refuse, and it is reminiscent of the countries we criticize for lack of transparency, and yet you sit there and say you're still going to continue to reviews.
Senator, I think there are very important debates that certainly go beyond my knowledge and expertise, for example, on gain of function, that I know there's a vigorous debate about whether the risk outweighs the reward. I don't have the expertise to know that.
But how do we have oversight or investigate it if you won't give us a record?
So the program that, in this instance, USAID was involved in was not engaged in gain of function.
What? Wow, this is so deep. They are waffling so bad on it's a huge mess. And you got to think that this is level Kennedy killing cover up.
Oh yeah.
It's really bad. Jeez.
Now, the last clip, which I don't see on here, unfortunately, discusses the fact that there were some leaked documents. I'd have to get those and put them back in here. I don't know what happened to them.
Oh, it's too bad.
Yeah. Well, we got this.
Well, I was going to say what I see is. Well, actually, go ahead, because I want to change topic.
Let's play this clip. This is COVID vax CDC corruption new.
And the CDC now says it knew about safety irregularities for the COVID vaccine earlier than we thought. Here's the story.
The Epoch Times this week published files obtained from the CDC via a Freedom of Information Act request. The files show that in May of 2022, the CDC found more than 700 signals that the vaccines could cause adverse events. Such adverse events include acute heart failure and death. It was previously thought the CDC detected the signals in July 2022. When the CDC conducted its first analysis, employees identified more than 200 signals for Pfizer's shot and 93 signals for Moderna's vaccine. Senator Ron Johnson, the top Republican on the Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations, said federal health agencies have ignored the flashing alarms of their own safety surveillance systems since early 2021. They have ignored my oversight letters and lied about what analyses they have performed. It is well past time for the American public to be told the truth.
Isn't it great that we have this Trump indictment while all of this stuff is taking place?
Yeah, coincidence.
This is why you got to listen to your No Agenda show, so you at least can keep track of what they're doing to us. And now there's something bad going on in Scandinavia as well. This is the Bill C-11, which we've discussed many times, or certainly Bill C-10, which was the first, I think it's called the Online Streaming Act. What this does is it gives the CRTC, that's the Canadian regulatory body that oversees radio and television, so I guess in a way like our FCC, but it's now expanded to cover all audiovisual content on the internet, including TikTok, YouTube, Spotify, podcast clients. Good. How about that? You better get a new podcast app now, people, especially if you live in Canada, because they're going to try and, I mean, they can't, but they will censor maybe even No Agenda on Spotify and on Apple, and Apple and Spotify will comply, as will YouTube and everybody else. Under Bill, and this passed on March 30th. Under Bill C-11, all platforms hosting audiovisual content that are not specifically excluded must make financial contributions to producing officially recognized CanCon, currently defined as 1980s era point system built around legacy media, broadcast media. I'm not quite sure exactly what is going on, but Pierre Poilievre, he says his name, he was very upset, and he put out like a TikTok emergency broadcast.
And I wonder if you...
Oops, this one here.
Hi, everyone. Pierre Poilievre here. There's just an emergency here in Parliament Hill. The Liberals have just announced that they're shutting down debate. They're censoring debate on their censorship bill. We just got the notice right now. As you know, they've been trying to censor the internet in what Canadian artist Margaret Atwood has called creeping totalitarianism. So give Trudeau's woke bureaucrats over at the CRTC the power to control what you see and say on the internet. I'm just rushing into the House of Commons lobby right now. Conservatives are the only party fighting back. But as you can see, this closure is now being brought right before us right now. You see right here, Online Streaming Act. They're bringing in what's called closure, which shuts down debate and rams the bill through in record time. Only conservatives are fighting back against this censorship bill. We believe you should have the freedom to decide what you see and say online, but I need you to immediately sign my freedom of speech petition. The link is right before you. Click, sign immediately. Let's bring home freedom. I want to give you back control of your life and make this the freest country on earth. It's common sense. Let's bring it home now.
So if I understand correctly, what is still under debate is some amendments that may or may not go in. I'm a little unsure of the timeline. So I do have a 1-minute clip of the I guess the Liberal Party saying, "Hey man, why don't you? What's wrong with you? What's wrong with what's your problem? What's your problem with woke?" And the same Pierre here, politician Pierre, takes the stage.
And I wonder if you would like to kind of backtrack or apologize on characterizing the CRTC as a small group of privileged insiders closest to the Prime Minister. And I would also ask him if he would like to define the word woke. I asked one of his colleagues as well for that definition, and I'd like to see what he has to say. Thank you.
Leader of the Opposition.
Actually, I will backtrack. It is a big group of insiders, Madam Speaker. It is a big, sprawling bureaucracy with far too many people working for it. There will be less people working for the CRTC when I'm Prime Minister because they'll have less power and they'll have a hell of a lot less to do when I restore freedom of speech and freedom of expression online and on the internet. And as for the definition of woke has one purpose, only one purpose. Plenty of pretexts, but only one purpose: control. It is designed to divide people by race, by gender, by ethnicity, by religion, by vaccine status, and any other way that they can divide people into groups. Because why? Then you can justify having a government to control all those groups. No more woke. We need freedom.
There you go. Same goes for the U.S. and everywhere else where woke is in play. I'd like that. He said that within 40 seconds. That was pretty good.
Yeah, nailed it.
We had some pretty bad tornadoes.
Yeah, I have some weather reports.
Oh, let's give me the weather reports.
Well, this is interesting because I have a contrasting series of clips here. First, I have tornadoes and climate change. Of course, that's what they bring up on PBS. I have a two-parter there, and then I follow that with an old classic clip from 1953.
Oh, okay. Let's hear the PBS version.
And as the cleanup begins, more than 200,000 people across 5 states remain without power.
Oh,
For
no.
more on these storms, Walker Ashley of Northern Illinois University. He's an atmospheric scientist and a certified consulting meteorologist. I understand you were doing some firsthand research last night, a little storm chasing. What did you see?
Well, got on some good supercells in the central part of the state.
Supercells.
Luckily, they didn't produce any tornadoes in the area that I was in, but unfortunately for the communities, they did take some pretty big hail. But compared to some parts of the Midwest, I think we made out okay.
Okay. Well,
Okay, now I found this is the intro to this guy. He's storm chasing, and he says, luckily I saw no tornadoes.
Isn't his whole thing is to see tornadoes? Isn't that what he's all about?
If you're storm chasing, isn't that the idea, to see tornadoes? Isn't that why you do storm chasing?
I would say so.
So why does he feel lucky he didn't see any? Okay, so that's the premise for this guy. So now he's going to give us a little rundown on climate change.
You've got a recent study about the future of supercells in the United States. First of all, what is a supercell?
Great question. Supercells are rotating thunderstorms. They're actually relatively small. but they pack a heck of a punch. I always liken them to peanuts. You know, peanut is a relatively small piece of food, but boy, it's got a lot of calories, a lot of protein, a lot of fat. And these supercells, although relatively small, produce the lion's share of tornadoes and significant hail that we experience in the United States. And
some of the biggest tornadoes in recent years, Moore, Oklahoma, Joplin, Missouri, the southern outbreak in 2011. You, as I understand your study, you modeled various levels of carbon over years to see what would happen. And what did you find?
Well, it's just not carbon. We looked at various sort of future projections of the greenhouse gas, emission scenarios. Both this intermediate and pessimistic warming reveal a dramatic increase in the number of supercells across the Mid-South, the Ozark Plateau, the lower Ohio Valley. So that area of let's call it northeast Texas, eastern Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, and stretching over into Mississippi and Alabama, sometimes a doubling of the number of supercells. If you double the number of supercells, the number of, unfortunately, the hail and tornadoes could also see a doubling. Somewhat uniquely, though, we actually see a decline into the areas of the western Great Plains. Some people like to call that colloquially sort of Tornado Alley. Tornadoes and supercells are still going to go through this area, but maybe at some slighter or maybe less rates as we move into the 21st century.
And to the recent storms, and we had big storms last weekend, again this weekend, do they suggest that the future is here?
That's a great question. Climate change is occurring right now. It is going to accelerate based on the emission scenarios that we're seeing. There's certainly things that we can do to mitigate that, and tornadoes are becoming more frequent east.
Before you play your 53 clip, I'd like to play a report from Deutsche Welle, the German international news station, with their take on this event. Is that okay?
Yeah, I think so.
Why have we been seeing so many strong tornadoes this year?
Well, this is our middle of our tornado season here across the United States. Kind of starts in March, ramps up in April into May. So these are common to happen and this time of year, but this storm was actually a little bit stronger, got down to about 980 millibars, a little stronger. When you get that strong of a system over land, you can get pretty good, strong tornadoes. And indeed, we did have that from parts of the United States in Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Arkansas, back into parts of Mississippi, Tennessee, even here in Alabama as well, too. So this time of year, we can get these. You just have that warm, humid air coming up from the Gulf of Mexico, meeting that colder air from up in Canada. They clash together out there. You get a strong front to come in, and these thunderstorms thrive on energy, the warm, humid air. And indeed, we did have quite a few of them. And unfortunately, this won't be the last we'll have this spring.
Tell us, is there a link between climate change and the frequency and intensity of tornadoes?
Right now, there's no study that says that. Obviously, with some warmer, more humid air coming from the Gulf of Mexico, that does become fuel for some of these storms. It may lead to more humid air, which those storms thrive off of, but studies are still ongoing as to the small impact of a tornado versus a global impact, what we're seeing.
Now, the United States is, let's say, particularly affected by tornadoes. Can you explain to us why that is?
It's just the setup of where we are on the face of the earth. We have our Rocky Mountains over the western part of the country. We have our Appalachian Mountains over the east. And in between, you have this river valley right where the Mississippi River is. And that allows all this warm air to come up from the south, meaning cold air from the north. And when the systems kind of collide in those setup, like we had yesterday, that allows us to get really strong areas of low pressure, and that helps to form these systems. And we can see these each and every year. And anytime we get in the springtime, it is tornado season here.
Thank you, Deutsche Welle. Good try.
Well, that was a simplistic. It didn't blame climate change like they do on PBS.
Exactly. This is the German television saying, no, that's not because of climate change. This is what happens. And I think you now have a historical document.
So let's go to 1953.
So 1953 was an extremely active tornado year, and I want to check out some archival video about that tornado that struck Waco that year.
This is what happens when a tornado strikes a city like Waco, Texas, where more than 100 people are fatally injured and more than $50 million in property is gone in just a few seconds, no longer than it takes to tell it. There might have been more injured except for the hard work of these volunteers who work day and night to remove the trash, even with their bare hands, to keep the wreckage from caving in on the people still trapped down underneath. This is the first tornado in the history of Waco, and on the day it struck, the weatherman warned that it was tornado weather from Waco all the way to San Angelo, 200 miles away. And strangely enough, two separate twisters hit each of the two cities at about the same time. And when it struck, it stopped the clocks at 4:40 in the afternoon. It was a rush hour, and there was a big, heavy rainstorm, and nobody could hear nor see the twister coming.
And can you talk, Dan, a little bit about the impact and a legacy of this monster storm?
Monster storm.
Yeah, it certainly was. Waco still stands today as the deadliest tornado in Texas history, going back to the year 1900. It struck at the end of the workday in downtown Waco, and so literally there were many people that were caught off guard. Buildings were literally collapsing on people as they were still inside. There was actually an old Indian legend back then that pretty much some folks that lived in Waco thought that they were protected by tornadoes because of the hills and the bluffs that surrounded the city. Of course, we know that Indian legend proved to be false. But really the big legacy of the Waco tornado, in that same year, June of that same year, Texas A&M held a special tornado warning conference, and it gathered military officials, meteorologists, police, and fire, and other city officials all gathered together to discuss what had happened. And they really formulated a plan that over the next several years they implemented. And part of that plan was to basically disseminate military surplus radars to cities and communities throughout the state to establish the first radar network in the state of Texas. It really was a watershed moment.
Wait a minute. They didn't blame climate change?
If that happened today, they would.
The International Interplanetary Climate Change Group of nut jobs didn't say, oh, yeah, it's climate change. Well, you're right. You're right about that. This is what they would have done back in 1953, only this is 2023. We go to Euronews.
And the more than 130 UN member states have voted for the International Court of Justice to pronounce on the obligations incumbent on states to protect the climate for present and future generations. It means the world's highest court will now clarify what countries must do legally to defend the environment from climate harm. But the resolution is non-binding, meaning that there's no need for any state to abide by it if it doesn't want to. Last week, UN climate experts warned that global warming will increase by 1.5 degrees by 2030 to 2035. The 2015 Paris Agreement, which is legally binding, set the long-term goal to keep warming to 2 degrees at the most by the end of this century.
Can you believe this? So they've now invoked the International Criminal Court. Oh, you can be criminals if you don't keep up. And like good little boys and girls, little Rishi over there in the UK. Oh yeah, we'll do it. We're all in. We're good.
It was going to be the Prime Minister's Green Day. In the end, it was rebranded Energy Security Day. Rishi Sunak and his net zero minister were shown around a nuclear laboratory as they launched their plan.
We're going to create jobs across the country. We're going to increase our energy security, reduce people's bills, and reduce our carbon emissions.
The government plan includes a wide range of measures. They're launching an insulation scheme to make 300,000 homes more energy efficient. There's a plan to invest around $300 million in developing green hydrogen as a fuel. It's claimed to be more environmentally friendly. And there's the formal establishment of Great British Nuclear to promote the building of new power plants. Critics point out many proposals are simply reheated versions of old announcements. In many cases, there's no new funding. For example, the government's pushing an existing $25 billion investment in carbon capture and storage, removing carbon dioxide produced by burning fossil fuels and storing it under the North Sea. Many in the energy sector are calling for the government to use subsidies to encourage investment in clean energy, like those President Biden's announced for US firms, or lose out on jobs and revenue.
We were there with our thinking many years ahead of the rest of the world. But this government has just dithered and delayed, and those business opportunities, that investment will have gone to the US, it will have gone to the EU, because they've also woken up to the fact that hydrogen offers this huge potential.
Yeah, everybody's all in on the green hydrogen. They're going to do it with nuclear, apparently, but there's no money. There's no money. So that's the lip service the UK government is giving. But the BBC, they really took the cake with their report on the 15-minute cities. Now, the 15-minute cities, the first one being Oxford, we know that this is a climate change mitigation strategy. Have everything within 15 minutes. Walking distance, I believe, not even... You're laughing already.
Well, how do you even do this 15-minute city and then promote tourism? I mean, the whole thing is idiotic.
But it's a real thing. I mean, you will agree with me that these 15-minute cities are being talked about.
They think they got something here. They got the answer.
Well, you're wrong. This is a conspiracy theory. It's not even true, man.
The 15-minute city. For years, it's been a buzzword in urban planning, but now the concept has gone mainstream and become a magnet for protests around the world, from Canada to the UK, with conspiracy groups claiming they're designed to imprison us in our neighbourhoods. Type the term 15-minute city into TikTok, and it generates hundreds of videos using familiar hashtags, Agenda 2030.
By the way, just a point of personal privilege. Notice how they're not looking at Google. They're searching for things on TikTok.
Minute city into TikTok, and it generates hundreds of videos using familiar hashtags, Agenda 2030, World Economic Forum, to suggest the 50-minute goal is part of a sinister global plot to limit our freedoms by enforcing climate lockdowns. Rijke Kuipers, a Dutch disinformation reporter, has been tracking the spread and evolution of this conspiracy.
The 2030 conspiracy theory is about this global agenda where world leaders met up and are supposed to have discussed how to use these environmental concerns to impose almost authoritarian restrictions on the people.
And a 50-minute city is evidence of that plan being put into action.
Yeah, and it's a form of confirmation bias as well, 50-minute city prisons.
That's what they're calling them, 50-minute city prisons.
Yeah. You in your area will only be allowed within that 15-minute zone that you've...
Videos like this one have been getting hundreds of thousands of views, but the content doesn't always tally with reality.
Don't you love how they're doing this? They're twisting it to say, oh, no, people are calling it a jail, a prison. It's not true. That's complete horse crap. And they bring in a Dutch disinformation journalist. Let's hear more from what's going on in the Netherlands.
There's evidence here in the Netherlands where pretty much the entire country is already made up of 15-minute cities. So
No.
Wow.
That's bull crap. That's not true. Amsterdam, you can't get from one side to the other in 45 minutes.
I thought it might just be worth taking you for a spin on my bicycle to hear for yourself what it's like to live and work in one. Here we go. So within 15 minutes, 4 or 5 kilometres, I can reach my daughter's primary school, lots of supermarkets, the doctors, pharmacies.
On your bicycle in the rain.
All the other everyday essentials. And despite the people objecting to the 15-minute idea, saying in order to get this, we'll be forced to sacrifice our freedom of movement, there's no sign of any boundaries or restrictions here.
Yes.
Here in the Netherlands, there's very little opposition. And Aya Asjebaun, a cycling ambassador, believes that's because everyone already sees the upside.
Very little opposition? Are you kidding me? There's big groups. There's people protesting about this. Okay, BBC.
I can't imagine what it's like to not live in a 15-minute city, to have to go so far to get something. I think it gives you a lot of freedom, and that's what we all want.
Wow.
15-minute cities gives you
a
lot of
freedom. How does it give you more freedom than not being in a 15-minute city? Be
quiet, you opposition person.
I think it gives you a lot of freedom, and that's what we all want.
Public polarization over the 15-minute city has highlighted climate disinformation as a new front line for cities seeking innovative solutions to pressing environmental challenges that won't disappear.
Do not be in opposition. 15-minute cities are freedom. Restriction is freedom. Fear is freedom. That is all, slave.
Unbelievable. It's just unbelievable. I don't even know what to say.
Well, I think you said it. It said itself.
It did.
The BBC's full of crap. I mean, they're just it's a propaganda outlet. The people they should stop paying. You have to pay a fee to watch them.
I know. It's mandatory if you even own a television. I know. Let me see. What do we have?
Well, I got something from the last show I was going to do that then. Well, no, I'm gonna let's play this clip. Drag show law blocked.
Okay, hold on a second. Oh, here it is.
Federal judge temporarily blocked a Tennessee law placing strict limits on drag shows just hours before it was set to go into effect. The first of its kind law bans adult cabaret entertainment on public property or in locations where it could be viewed by a minor. The judge sided with a Memphis LGBTQ theater group's argument that the statute's overly broad language violates the First Amendment.
Really now?
They're really pushing these drag shows. These drag shows, there's a show up out of the blue, the drag show, library time with the little kids and all the rest.
Drag time story hour.
Drag time story hour. It's like, what is the point of this?
It was really interesting.
Why is it they're making this a hill to stand on? They're really going to fight to the death.
Well, I think that's the point. The point is to have fights and to have death. That I think is the point. As we discussed on the last show, trans is the new Black Lives Matter. So, drag is trans. The Bill Maher show, Real Time, was very interesting. Besides having Governor Sununu on, who clearly is going to run, but was saying he wasn't, whatever, fine. Bill Maher, he had on a guy who wrote a book about, he's a gay guy. And I'm not quite sure. He was clearly a leftist. But then he also had, at the same time on the panel, Lieutenant Governor from Virginia, Winsome Earl Sears, the Jamaican lady who famously took a picture with her and with an AR-15. But she was a Marine, so, and so she's pro-gun. And I only have a very short clip just kind of explain what happened because I tried to clip it, but, I was literally playing the YouTube video, which had the Bill Maher real-time full version. And as I'm playing it, it went away. And it said, Warner Brothers has removed this. I'm like, okay. So I couldn't clip it. I didn't have time to.
Oh, were you watching it at the moment they removed it?
It was amazing. It went whoop. It just stopped as I was playing it this morning. And so that was it. I couldn't get, and they didn't have any clip of this. So the first thing I'd say is, this guy is, very much, very, very leftist kind of guy. They were talking about Trump and all that. Bill Maher has such a stick up his ass about Trump, and he was so happy about, just like the MSNBC people. But then this guy said, when it came to LGBTQ, Bill Maher said, so this really doesn't work, this LGBTQ. As you know, I've said forever that there's no such community as the LGBTQ community. It's bull crap. And this guy said, yeah. It was very interesting for this show, typically more left than anything, for him to say, yeah, these little boys who are playing with girl stuff and girl toys and dresses, typically they might grow up to be gay. But no, there's this whole mechanism that jumps in and says, no, you're supposed to be a girl, and vice versa for girls and boys. And so that was very interesting that came up. But then the conversation moved towards the Tennessee school shooting and about how it was trans against Christians, and then Bill Maher, and of course, what happened in this conversation is, we have too many guns. The wrong people have guns. We have to have some common sense gun laws. And I don't have all the pieces of that clip that I wanted to, but I'll be able to explain after I play this. So this is Bill Maher talking about guns and his favorite topic.
You're going to get rid of the 400 million guns in this country, whether you want to or not. It's impossible. It would spark a civil war if you tried to confiscate them all. So what I think is going to happen...
And bad people will always get guns.
Always. That's the thing, because you know what? They're not giving up their guns.
No, they're the bad people.
They're the bad people.
Yes.
Just like the drugs. We have a war on drugs. We can't get rid of them, Bill. They're still coming across the border.
Well, thank God for that. But
So the piece that I wanted to get was he says, I have guns. I don't like guns, but I have guns. I have guns because I need to protect myself because other people have guns. I have guns. Then he goes on for like 10 minutes about how much he loves weed. He smokes weed, and only bad people should have guns. I just want to point out, Bill Maher, that when it comes to background checks, even in California, even though weed is legal, there's a question on your form when you're purchasing a gun. It says, do you currently smoke marijuana, use cocaine, etc.? It's a federal questionnaire. Then you can't lie on that, just like Hunter Biden. So for him to publicly be saying, only bad people should not get guns, we need to catch them, I don't think it's a good idea to have a pothead owning guns. And someone should bring him to account over that.
I agree with you.
It's illegal. I mean, I'm not going to say that I was necessarily honest in my previous life, but come on. I mean, only the people you deem to be the wrong people, which would probably be Republicans or Trumpers or MAGA or whatever.
Well, that brings me to a clip I have.
Woo-hoo!
This happened a few weeks before the shooter, the crazy shooter in
Tennessee,
Nashville, and this is Cenk Uygur going on and on about guns and who should have them and who shouldn't.
I'll be a little bit of a hypocrite here, but it's not. I'll explain why I'm saying it. I don't like guns. I would ban assault weapons in a second. We can go on and on about the gun control that we need in this country. And I always tell people, don't get guns. It'll make you less safe. I'm going to make an exception here for trans people. They are actually in danger. They have had hundreds of laws passed against them. They have right-wing media ginning up fear against them 24/7. They are targeted more than any other group in America. And if anyone should get guns, it should be trans Americans. Okay? Because I'm worried for them. I'm worried that the right-wing lunatics are going to attack them as they have over and over again. And by the way, it's not just right-wing lunatics. Other people attack trans folks as well.
Like gay guys. Wow. The fastest growing group of gun owners, any idea?
Trans.
Black women.
Oh, no, I knew this. Yep, this came up in the conversation. I actually had a clip some time back. Yeah, black women, they love guns.
Yeah, and they need them. And so to say the people harassed, what happened to Black Lives Matter, bro? What happened? That just disappeared all of a sudden? Nah. This is pretty blatant. And I think, this is...
Well, I want to say one thing about that.
Okay.
This Marxists who put together Black Lives Matter, these women.
Yeah, who stole the money.
They all walked away with a shit ton of money.
Yep.
Bought some nice houses and cars, and they kind of retired. And it turns out that in a lot of these movements, if your main guy, the guy who's shaking his fist and up there and he's making a stink and getting the publicity and getting on the shows and and talking the talk. When you retire from that gig, the whole thing collapses. And I think that's what happened.
Totally. Total collapse. And isn't it interesting how no one cares? And people don't even see what's happening. They don't even see that Black Lives Matter has been complete. I was talking to Mo. And he's like, it was just bitching and moaning about work. He got deplatformed. And he said to me, in May, when the CDC, when the president makes a decision about the COVID emergency, what will actually change? I say, well, that's a good question. I don't really know. As far as what's important to me is that my daughter and her fiance can then come and visit me because neither of them are vaccinated. Christine has an American passport, but he doesn't. and that is supposed to change. And he said, well, what will companies do? Will companies then also no longer require it? And I said, I don't know, probably not. Probably a lot of them will keep that in place, the woke companies. I said, but, you have a benefit. I said, white men in America can't get a job anymore. And I said, you're a black man in America. He said, oh, no. Wrong gender, bro. Wrong gender. Wrong gender. And then Sir Onimus of Dogpatch, he reached out and said, no, it's more about old. It's more about ageism, which he says he has standing on. I don't know, but the whole thing, there should be no difference between person A or person B about who gets hired. That train seems to have left the station, though.
I'm going to show my support by donating to No Agenda. Imagine all the people who could do that. Oh yeah, that'd be fab. Yeah, on No Agenda in the morning.
Well, we're going to go to our little list here and thank people one after the other who contributed to the show, starting with Oregon Local 33, $133.33. And this was usually given to some one person. Monthly donation from the Oregon Local. Slave Soiree at Dick's Primal Burger. April 8th will be the next meetup. Just so you know. Sherry Zucker in Scarsdale, New York, $100. Baron Latikin, $100 from Houston, Texas. Sir Tommy Hawk in Iowa City, Iowa, $99.99.
Right.
Nothing there. Sir Kevin McLaughlin, aha! 8008, the only boob donation today, at least big boobs.
Oh.
From Locust, North Carolina. Sean Milligan in Hamilton, Ontario. Yes. Sonny Pang in Lee, Lancaster, UK, Great Britain, $71. Bowman McMahon, San Antonio, Texas, $71. Amy Mullen in Austin, Texas, $71.
These are all JCD birthday donations.
Oh, yes, 71 is my birthday. These are all birthday donations. I mean, if you want to contribute.
Wednesday is your birthday?
It's April 5th, and I'll be 71 officially. And that will be, those donations are welcome, and we'll be collecting them next Wednesday too. But this is these are the early ones, the early Happy Birthday John donations. Amy Mullen in Austin, Texas, 71. Mickey Keck in Las Vegas, Nevada. Also is a birthday there's also other birthdays for 71. Baroness Salty in Manchester, New Hampshire. Happy birthday, John. Love Baroness Salty.
Ooh.
George Hade, or Hade, I guess, in Trumansburg, New York, 71. Parcel Pusher, Apex, North Carolina, 71. I guess he's works for somebody pushing parcels.
Yeah.
Lord Jim in Shreveport, Louisiana. Happy birthday, John. You're a national treasure.
Ooh.
Tell it to the judge. Sir Merrick in Butte, Montana, 71. Gregory Clifton in Morganfield, Kentucky, 71. Michael Belcher in Yuba City. Dame Dane in Binningen, Switzerland.
It says love from Dame Dane. Love
from Dame Dane in Switzerland.
Love.
The Swiss Miss. Sir Stoner Boner, Kent, Washington. Happy birthday. Jackson Butler in Levelland, Texas, another 71. Happy birthday. John Tavares in Lake Mary, Florida. It looks like a double birthday. Somebody else is getting it, but this is not for me. This is 6666. And this is a birthday for himself.
And a de-douching request.
You've been de-douched.
I want to thank all you folks for wishing me a happy birthday, and I hope to get some more of those in the next show. James Boreth in North Wales, Pennsylvania, 6666. Jason Cooper in Rock Hill, South Carolina, 6006. That's a small boob. Matthew Cargo in Gobles, Michigan. The show is saving our sanity.
Good.
And he called out to Jesus. Sabode Peth in Metairie, Louisiana, 5150. Last couple of shows have been outstanding, he says, specifically.
Oh, you're welcome.
Sir Kyle in Bertram, Texas, 5333. I don't know what it says there. Is there a plug for something? I don't know. Ryan the Stable Boy in Edmonds, Washington, 5005. Tony Helfst In Fort Worth, Texas, 5015. And the following people are all $50 donors. Pro Flooring LLC in Viroqua, Wisconsin.
Get all your Pro Flooring in Viroqua at Pro Flooring LLC.
Get the new cherry wood that just came in. Claire Thornhill in Toronto, Ontario. Tony Lang in Castle Pines, Colorado. Dotted Mind in Lincolnshire, UK. Justin Heiner in Vine Grove, Kentucky. These are all 50s. James Woodhouse in Dalmany, Saskatchewan. Matthew Feo in Robina, Queensland, Australia. Sir Brabby in Lisbon, Wisconsin. He says a bag of groceries costs this much. So, it's not, nowadays it's not that much. Jordan Hoyno in Salem, Oregon. Hino, it should be pronounced Hino, although I can't see any way of getting there from here. He needs a de-douching.
You've been de-douched.
And he wants to call out his co-worker, Andrew, who hit me in the mouth as a douchebag. Douchebag. Roger Reed in Henderson, Nevada. He needs a de-douching.
You've been de-douched.
Sam Williams in Battle Creek, Michigan. He's working on his knighthood. Okay, not getting the joke there. Sir Brett Farrell, 50. Sir Baron, actually, Alan Bean in Beaverton, 50. And last but not least on this list is Aichi Kitagawa in San Francisco, California. I want to thank these people for making the show a winner.
Yes, and we have a make good from Sir J.D., the Baron of Silicon Valley. And I guess we missed him on a previous show. And he says, please credit Baron Silicon Valley, not SVB, Knights and Dames and Douchebags to go, instasecure.io to secure your cloud. And happy birthday to Dame Finonymous, our precious human resource who starts her 22nd trip around the sun today. Love is lit. You got it. Thank you very much. Thank you to all of these donors who supported episode 1543, and of course our executive and associate executive producers who we mentioned earlier. And thank you everybody who came in under 50 either for reasons of anonymity or because you are on one of our multiple subscription plans. These are sustaining donations. They're incredibly important. We appreciate that. And if you'd like to learn more about supporting the No Agenda Show, go here.
Dvorak.org/NA. It's your birthday.
Here's our list for today. Evan Mackey turned 17. On the 31st, actually. Sir J.D., as you just heard, wishes his daughter, Finonymous, a happy birthday. She turns 22 today. John Tavares, or Tavares, heaven must be missing an angel, 34 today. Dame Annette Pruitt, it's her birthday today, April 2nd. Dave Ackerman turns 53 tomorrow. Jack turning 35 on the 5th, along with John C. Dvorak, my friend and partner, April 5th, 71. Mickey Keck wishes Dame Sarah Keck, ruler of small dogs, a happy birthday, and that is our list. Happy birthday from everybody here at the best podcast in the universe. I would like to remind everybody of one thing. There is no actual birthday list or calendar that we maintain. If you have a birthday or have a birthday shout-out, you need to email it to notes@noagendashow.net. There are many people from time to time who say, hey, man, you missed my birthday. Or I want to make sure I'm on the list for January. Nope, you got to email it the show before it's appropriate, and that's how it works. 2 nights on the list. I've got a sword here. Do you have a sword? You got a sword?
Here you go.
Oh, I'll take that one. Nairobi Dino or Dino? Michael Smith, both of you, step up on the podium, gentlemen. Thank you very much for supporting the No Agenda Show in the amount of $1,000 or more. I'm hereby very proud to pronounce the as Sir Scotland the Brave and Sir Smidiot. For you, we've got Hookers and Blow, we got Rent Boys and Chardonnay, Haggis, Neeps and Tatties, Ribeye and Bell's Two-Hearted Ale. We also have Redheads and Ryes. We got Harlots and Haldol. We got organic macaroni and plasticizers, beer and blunts, Reuben S. Reuben and Rosé, Geisha and Sake, Vodka Manila, Bong Hits and Bourbon, Sparkling Cider and Escorts. We got Ginger Ale and Gerbils, Breast Milk and Pablum, and of course, the ever-effervescent Mutton and Mead. Go to noagendarings.com Everyone can go there and take a look at these beautiful rings. You cannot purchase them. You have to be a donor and a fresh knight ordained with the No Agenda Roundtable. And how all that works, you can see at noagendarings.com. Please go there, you two, and give us your ring size and where to send these handsome Signet rings to. Thank you very much for supporting No Agenda.
No Agenda Meetups.
Yes, these are the producer-organized meetups that are coordinated through noagendameetups.com. Quick report here from Sir Brian with the Y reporting in. This is the Aurora, Illinois meetup. Great meetup. We had 15 people at its height, 3 nights, 1 dame, 3 dudes named Ben. Venue worked out pretty well. Be on the lookout for another one. And the Point Mugu Air Show, March 18th. This is, I think, the Leo Bravo meetup. Man, it was quite torturous to get to the Point Mugu Air Show in Ventura, California. Traffic was wonderful until he got to the off-ramp. A torturous 7-mile drive from the freeway to the exit to the parking stalls. He was still making his way to the venue when another No Agenda listener inquired about where they were meeting up. So it did finally end up working out. They ended up at the Grassy Knoll, an area right behind the announcer's booth. Imagine my surprise when fellow NA listener John C. appears out of nowhere. This could not have been you, John, not John C. Dvorak. This must have been another John C. He loved the air show. It concluded that night with a live concert by Gary Sinise and his band. John, his wife, and I really enjoyed the concert. We even had a conga line. Okay. Pictures or didn't happen. Or didn't happen.
Dun, 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 dun.
Thank you very much, Leo Bravo. We do have a quick meetup report here from Conway, South Carolina meetup.
All right, this is Sir Joe Ho. We're at the last minute Rusty's House meetup.
Having a great time here at the meetup. Kids are having a blast.
Hey, this is Rusty Jones. It's been a good meetup overall. We've only sunk 1 boat.
Joe's here from Conway. Just checking it out.
The human resources are out riding around on the 4-wheelers. Come here, Susan. You got to say something. We need more sound and people on this.
In the morning, Adam and John. This is the Hawaiian Cowboy relaxing over at Rusty's house, enjoying some Cuban cigars and eating fistfuls of peanuts. Thank you for your courage and resist we much.
In the morning!
Make sure you're fisting those properly. Today, what? What?
What?
I thought you said something.
I said nothing.
Oh. Today, let me see, in the morning, not a joke meetup, probably concluded by now. It was at Urban 360 Pizza, Albuquerque, New Mexico. That is, of course, Sir Jeff Tuhig, who organized that. I'm sure he'll send in a meetup report after that is done. And also, past due, I think, was the WAW, a Eastern Bloc meetup that took place in Warsaw at the Long Bar in Warsaw, Mazowiecki, Poland. Bob Barker, this sounds so phony, doesn't it? He apparently organized that. I'm pretty sure. Well, no, actually, it's probably just about starting. I think, or it might just be underway. So we look forward to a meetup report from that. If you go to noagendameetups.com, you'll see that we have a lot of meetups for the month of April, a lot in America, of course, but also Mainz, Germany, Zurich, Switzerland. I see Kaatsheuvel, North Brabant, the Netherlands, Budapest in Hungary, Toronto, Ontario. And there's a lot of these things taking place around the world. You need to be a part of this community because you already are in the community. It's your No Agenda community. You may think, it's weird. I don't know anybody. Believe me, you will have a great time. You will immediately connect. The Keeper and I wish we could have gone to the Austin, Texas meetup, which took place yesterday. Hopefully Baron Scott will send a meetup report about that. Please check out noagendameetups.com. This is where you can find all of the meetups, when they're taking place, who to contact. And if you cannot find one there, start one yourself. It's really easy. noagendameetups.com.
Sometimes you want to go hang out with all the nights and days.
Bom, bom, bom.
You want to be where you won't be. Triggered all hell the same. You want to be where everybody feels the same.
Bom, bom. It's like a party. It's like a party.
I have a note here from Dame Atomic Ginger.
What does she have to say?
Well, I'm sure she's a redhead.
You think?
Sending you some genuine Roswell, New Mexico tourist junk.
Ooh.
So she sent me a small care package.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Junk is the right word. As an insider who now lives in Lubbock, I will let you know that this town, Roswell, New Mexico, is rough. It's gangsters and meth heads mixed with lovely normal people like any small town, 45,000. There's nothing to do here. New Mexico Military Institute was used in the movie The Men Who Stare at Goats. The school is 120 plus years old and is the only thing keeping the town alive. It and the crazy alien convention every July. People always ask if I've seen any aliens, and I would just respond, only the illegals. Thank you for your courage. Shout out to Lucas.
That place sounds a bit like Noster, which is
sounds like just a
Twitter on meth.
Just sounds like another one of these towns. Useless.
ISOs. I only have one, so
I've got 3.
Oh well, why don't you do your 3 and then I'll play my 1.
All right. Find my sheet. Okay, I'm trying to think which one might be the best. Let's do this after assume this is the end of the show, and now you're going to play Did What?
Did what?
Okay, all right.
Okay, then we got Mussolini.
Which was Mussolini's slogan initially.
No. Too long, shitty quality. No.
Mouse.
Don't mess with the mouse.
Did What is better so far, but check mine out.
69.
What?
69? It's just Trump doing. I don't even know where it's from.
69.
That's Trump?
Yeah.
Huh.
Okay. I guess that's not going to be it then, huh?
Well, for end of show.
Yeah, Did What is better. We'll use Did What. Yeah. No, I'm all in. I'm all in. I have a quick. I got more from Elizabeth Warren since she was so dynamite before on TikTok. If that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Senator, we want to get your thoughts on a topic that we've covered quite a bit here on the show, and that's the banning of TikTok. Now, some progressive lawmakers have said that this wouldn't actually address the issue of data privacy.
Wait, hold on a second before you play what she has to say. I want to say something. I want to say. So I'm assuming she is for the free and open internet, which allows democracies to flourish.
Let's find out.
Have said that this wouldn't actually address the issue of data privacy. Have you seen evidence of TikTok being a threat to our national security?
So I look at this a little differently. I think the question of privacy of our data through social media, through just tracking us on our phones, is something that we should be very concerned about. But it's not enough just to say this is a TikTok-only problem. This is a problem all the way across in terms of the data that are being collected.
Okay, so are we casting a wide enough net?
I want that we are not casting a wide enough net. I want to see a wider net on the privacy issues. I also think on the question of China, because it is different with China here. But China has they've got apps out there. They've got social media. They've got other pieces.
Ooh, they've got apps out there. She's all in, man. She's all in on taking it all down, having complete power. Complete power. Here's a second clip.
So
and American tech companies can sell data. So shoot.
Bingo.
So should TikTok
Bingo.
There's your ISO.
What am I, an idiot?
Tech companies can sell data. So shoot.
Bingo.
So should TikTok,
he talked over her.
TikTok not be banned?
Yes.
So the way I see it is if we're going to look into the question of data privacy, and we should, I've got some very serious concerns about this, we need to cast a broad enough net. We cannot pretend that if we can focus in on one company, that we're all done and have fixed this.
Right. She wants the total control. She wants it all. She wants the full-on TikTok bill, which, of course, is not the TikTok bill. That's what she wants. She's all in. She's all in on it, which is Senate bill, too. She's looking for some money. Pay me, people. Pay me. You know it. You know that.
That's the whole thing. They're all looking for money.
She took so much money from Bose and other companies to get that bogative hearing aid, over-the-counter hearing aid bill passed. She's looking for money. Oh, you don't want us to do that? You don't want any of that? Oh, okay. Well, maybe you should give me some money. She is the worst. Worst.
Well, if you want to wrap things, I can just play this. I think good news. Pope Francis is still kicking. play this clip.
And Pope Francis has left the hospital today after being treated for bronchitis, but not before eating some pizza, baptizing a baby in the children's ward, and signing a boy's cast. Asked by journalists how he's feeling, he said, "I'm still alive."
He's a goner. Yeah, that's a lot. When you're out there and you're signing casts. I don't know, man. He has respiratory issues. We'll see. Well, I wish him no ill. Of course. No, of course not. Coming up next on No Agenda Stream, or the modern app that you are using, we have the Lotus Effect live with Phoenix and Phone Boy. They will be bringing it to you live. Boost them live. End of show mixes, Jesse Coy Nelson, Professor John Jones by request, and brand new from Secret Agent Paul, which is a very, very good one. We look forward to seeing y'all. John, happy birthday in advance for Wednesday. Very excited about your birthday. You're welcome. Yeah, you're welcome. Coming to you from the heart of the Texas Hill Country here in FEMA Region number 6 in the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where I remain, I'm John C. Dvorak.
Please remember us at Dvorak.org/NA. We'll be back on Thursday. Until then, adios, mofos, a hooey hooey, and such.
Had to leave my job in the city. Couldn't find the time to work for the man. Have to stay at home, sitting on my phone. Now that I'm addicted to Instagram. Big reels so predictive. Doom scrolling so addictive. Scrolling on the Insta. Tried a few apps like TikTok. Even had a look at YouTube Shorts, but I never get the feelings that I feel from anything but those Instagram reels. Big reels get top billing. Doom scrolling so fulfilling. Now I'm scrolling on the Insta. Scrolling on the Insta.
No AstraZeneca in Spain, but the Vaxxers wanna use it. Say the blood clot's never seen there. It's the truth, so don't confuse it. You can't abuse it, you gotta choose it, so don't refuse it. Well, I never had corona, but I kinda trust the Fauci. So I'm thinking about the Pfizer or Moderna if it strikes me. Oh, there's consensus. Old folks, it's best if you get your shot. Just take your shot. Well, I never been to heaven. Dr. Gates might know a shortcut. COVID vaccines kill the hammer, but they say it's just a rumor. Was it the hammer or Marvin Hagler? What does it matter? What does it matter?
Trains are derailing.
banks are crashing. Borders are open for illegal dashing. Xi Jinping and Putin, they've been kissing. American diplomacy is utterly missing. United States, we're no longer great. A banana republic that's second rate.
My focus is just stay focused.
I'm pretty sure what's killing the crops is this Brawndo stuff.
The Brawndo's got what plants crave. It's got electrolytes.
I loaned the country $400 billion, and I want my $400 billion back. Does that make me a bad guy? I've got to eat too, you know?
My focus is just stay focused.
And to get hot, I got hairy legs that turn that turn.
The best podcast in the universe.
Mofo.
Dvorak.org/NA.